Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoes, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas key. You with me, sheesh. Bonito, cheap, Keith.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my lower, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't be labeled like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room, room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are doubting, I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shootin' this brace, I'm going in a new gear, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
Test. Test. Is everybody okay? All right, there we go. Now you guys can hear me. Thank you. That was the quickest mute messages that I've ever gotten in the chat. But what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Frankie Candles live stream right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, we should be good now. Green check marks in the chat if we are good. I had to update my PC, so my microphone got all busted up. Let's see. Okay, beautiful. All right, we're back. But welcome back, guys. And welcome back to the Frank Candles live stream every single weekday. And what I was saying was, except for yesterday, as you guys know, I was not live yesterday. Did drop the market update. Didn't want to leave the Candle Mafia in the dark, obviously. So we dropped that little market update. And honestly, not much has happened. Pretty boring day for crypto here, or pretty boring day for Bitcoin, at least, as we kind of just shuffle sideways. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat here, make sure I don't go mute again. Short the market, it's over. Shut up the cryptic. But Bitcoin, kind of a boring day, guys. I want to go over some of our key local levels of support and resistance, what I'm expecting next. We'll take a look at some of the higher time frames. I will go over kind of the macro scenario. I know everybody is like, is it the bear market? Is it the bull market? Is it going to continue? I'll try to give a brief analysis on that, guys. But I've talked about this so many times. My sentiment remains exactly the same. And until we see another massive move, or a massive decisive move to the downside, or we get a big rip up into new all-time highs, there's not much to update on that sentiment. But I will go over some new things. If anybody had seen, the RTY is starting to get a push to the upside, which would be a point for the bulls. But of course, we do have some other really, really bearish signs as far as the divergences that we have forming on the higher time frames, which we have been keeping an eye on forever. We also have some money flow coming into the red. So I'll go back onto the higher time frames, take a look at some of those signals, and kind of just give you guys my thoughts on them. But either way, we'll go over the local levels and what I'm expecting here next locally for Bitcoin. And then hopefully, we'll look at the bearish and the bullish case for the long term. And, we'll just root for the bullish case, even if there is not as many evidence pieces supporting the bulls. So we'll cover everything for you tonight. And, yeah, I think that's it. Without that being said, my volume getting cut off there kind of threw me off. But let's see. Shout out to Skull Cruncher. Welcome in, bro. We got Dutchy in the chat, said, put it back on mute. Nobody wants to hear it's going down. Shout out to Dutchy. We got Neon Visual in the chat. Loki dropping the turtles in the chat. Turtles everywhere, guys. I still don't know what the turtles mean. But we'll take it. Turtles are pretty cool animals. But yeah, shout out to Frankie is updating his PC. That's an urban myth. Shout out to Tony D. Yeah, he always roast me because I never update anything. But yeah, we got Hate Trader in the chat. What is going on? Welcome in. We got Mr. K in the chat. Jesse, our like police guys. Don't forget to smash that like button. We are obviously going to be doing giveaways on Friday, but smash that like button if you appreciate the free content and these daily live streams and market updates, keeping you guys updated with the next moves on Bitcoin more often than not before they actually happen. Let's see. Today closing below 109.8, and we're done. Shout out to Lucia. And guys, Bitcoin at an absolutely critical level here, and just critical scenario for the continuation of this bull market or potentially the beginning of the bear market. I'm going to try to clear some of this up for you. So without further ado, smash up that like button. Show the mod some love in the chat. We got Darren Does Things in the chat, Tony D, and I think he's the only one. We've been running a little bit, we've been running lean on the mods lately. But hey, everybody's got a life, and we can't expect them all to show up every single day. But shout out to Darren and Tony D for being here. Keep the Mafia in check if they start going crazy and start talking about Diddy in the chat, because that does happen sometimes. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts and break down where this thing is going next. Let's get into it. All right, and we got the stream deck working here as well. Let's see. Shout out to Ozgun. Good to see you, brother. Welcome in. Frankie talks so fast, I have to slow down and take my helmet off. Yo, shout out to Steve, bro. Take your helmet off is crazy, man. But anyway, let's continue on. I'll try to keep it nice, and I'll try to slow it down a little bit so I'm not rushing through this, but I just get amped up on these live stream, guys. But let's go ahead and take a look here. So like I said, locally, guys, I'll start locally, and then we'll talk a little bit about the long term. And, of course, we'll take a look at Bitcoin dominance. We'll take a look at the altcoins as well. But pretty much a quick update here on Bitcoin. So today, obviously, nothing really, really super exciting. Yesterday on the market update, let me pull up our local range here. Yesterday on our market update, let's see. Let me just make sure I'm in the right spot here. So yeah, yesterday, this volume profile did look a little bit different yesterday, but I was actually looking for a little bit of a continuation up here, guys, based off our 15-minute money flow crossover into the green. And I mean, I guess you could argue that we technically made a new high here, but didn't really get to see that continuation to the upside, and we kind of just came back down to the bottom of the range. But for the most part, like I said, not really anything super exciting here. We're kind of just still bing-bonging around in this volume profile locally. And I will go over the local levels that I'm going to be looking at. But to be quite honest, there's not really much to update here, guys. We got on the value area low, got that little bounce to the upside. Now, I have updated this profile and pulled this all the way to our current price action, which did lower down this volume profile just a little bit. So our local range that I'm going to be personally looking at right now has the value area low sitting at 110,382, POC sitting here at 112,840, and then our value area high, again, in confluence with that golden pocket, sitting between about, sitting at about 113.8. And then 786 sits right above there as well, giving you some backup resistance at 114,636. So to be quite honest, guys, I'm just kind of sitting this out. Only trade I am holding right now is still my short position, obviously, from before the massive dump to the upside. And I'll pull off those hyper-local levels. You can get this on your chart if you're looking for the day trades or the scalps. Just have an idea of where that support and resistance is, and just the idea of where your typical or your general value is sitting would be between that value area low and value area high. But if we pull up our main range here that we've been looking at, the only trade I am holding right now, guys, is the short position from up here on that deviation above the profile. Yes, before the tweet came out, the signs were on the chart here to short, and then the tweet did end up, obviously, assisting us with that massive liquidation wick, the biggest liquidation in crypto history. And obviously, this does, this is kind of like shaking things up. People are like, is this a sign of the bear market? Is this just a big liquidity sweep before a massive move to the upside? And the simple answer to this question, from my point of view, guys, is it is not a simple answer. This is a very, very, very complicated situation. I'm going to try to simplify it for you guys and give you my thoughts on where I think things are going long term, and also give you the reasons for that, right? Not just instantly calling, not just calling up for no reason, right? Just giving hopium. Also, not just being a bear for the sake of being the bear. We're going to actually take a look at the charts, at the data, at the actual evidence pieces supporting the bullish case and the bearish case, and then of course I'll try to give you guys which way I'm leaning. But only trade I am holding right now is the short from above this value area high, and of course this is where we are oftentimes looking for shorts, because this is letting you know that price is overvalued within within the context of your relative price action or your recent price action, right? Deviate above the highs, look for the short. We took this one as well in the premium Discord, right? Then we take the long back up into the PLC. We took the short at the PLC back down to the low, and then we ride it all the way back up to the high. And then this is the only trade I'm holding right now, guys. I am not holding another long position as of right now. I'm also not holding any new shorts. So I'm simply just holding this short position, which is in profit. I already have profits locked in, up about $5,100 here, unrealized. Also have my profits locked in. So I'm just going to continue to hold this, guys, because if this winds up being a massive meltdown, I'm not looking to close this short position. If anything, I'm just going to be trailing my stop loss in profit, right? Because, who knows? If we wind up seeing a big drop to the downside, right? Like maybe you move the stop loss down into profit if we get another drop, and then as we drop, I'll kind of just trail that stop loss down, eventually getting stopped out for more profit. That's the only trade I'm holding right now. Again, no new long positions, no new short positions. I didn't even take a trade today. It's not even like I took a trade and got stopped out. I just have not taken any trades today. But when we take a look at these when we take a look at this major range, guys, here's the thing. I would say medium term, I have my level set. I have my alert set. I'm pretty much just waiting for price to come into those key levels. I don't really have a super strong bias. I would say if I had to lean in one direction or the other, apart from any kind of retracements to the upside, I have to say I am still looking for a potential continuation down here. Oftentimes, guys, I know when we see these big liquidation wicks, it's oftentimes you can sweep the liquidity and then get a massive move up. This does happen some of the time. But another thing that we see happen here a lot is that the wick will fill, right? So, this is not as simple as saying oh my God, liquidity sweep, all-time highs, right? could that be the case? Yes, but it's just it's not that simple, right? So I would say based off money flow, right? This 4-hour money flow, which by the way, has crossed over right here. This was helping us, or helping me understand that I was looking to hold my short position for a potential continuation to the downside, right? Because the 4-hour money flow is going to indicate the continuation of the trend. And even if we come up here to some of the higher time frames, right, we had the 2-hour money flow crossing over even before we got into this volume profile. We had our signals up here to go short, but the money flow is what is going to help me hold this position for hopefully, at least, in terms of the short, right? I'm never rooting for price to go down, but for the sake of this short, right, the reason I am continuing to hold this is because when you look at that 3-hour and that 4-hour money flow, this is in the red. 4-hour money flow is still in the red. This could have a lot more room to come down. So with that being said, right, we have to be careful of lower highs and lower lows, right? Just like any other time frame that we look at, even the 1-hour money flow is crossing over early back here, right? I'll just mark that off with a vertical line. You have your low, your lower high, and then you eventually come down for the lower lows. So the money flow is always going to indicate the longer-term trend, which is why when we look at this from a 4-hour perspective, right, it's well, hey, money flow is very, very clearly trending to the downside. I'll even clean it up here so you can see it in all of its glory here very simply. Bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. There we go. Right? Money flow is clearly trending out here, right? Same thing back here. We see that money flow cross over into the red. What are we anticipating, right? We're going to anticipate lackluster bounces, lower highs and lower lows. So that would have to be my bias here when I look at the 4-hour time frame. Whether this was our lower high, which could be the case, guys, because when we pull up our resistance levels that we were looking at back here, our first local golden pocket was sitting right here. This is an area, the first area where you have an opportunity to put in that lower high, right? Again, to call for lower prices. And when money flow is coming into the red, right, well, that's, again, why I was looking to hold that position. 4-hour money flows in the red. Any bounces are looked at as lackluster for lower highs and potential lower lows to come. And that's my view, right? I have to anticipate potentially lower prices based off this money flow. We take a look at the 5-hour. 5-hour money flow is also crossed over into the red. 6-hour coming out pretty aggressively. So, based off this, any rallies to the upside, I have to view as lower highs before lower lows to come until proven otherwise. There is a point where, if we break above certain key levels, which I will go over in a minute, if we break above those key levels, we could potentially look for much higher prices. But until at that point, right, you're just expecting complete fake outs on money flow. And I just don't ignore that stuff. I'm not going to pretend that there's no possibility that we're just going to come up here and go into new all-time highs, but it is not showing itself here on money flow. So, that indicator can fake out, right? But until it fakes out, I have to, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to take longs down here, right? If we get and I'll talk about some of those levels that we're looking at for potential bounces, but it doesn't mean I can't take a long, right? But it does mean, like, just when we look at the overall kind of context of what the market is doing right now, I do have to be careful of these lower highs and lower lows. And this could very well be the lower high based off the fact that it is a golden pocket retracement. Now, if this is not the lower high, guys, and we do wind up getting a bigger rally to the upside, we're not out of the woods just yet. And this is kind of like not even much to update since Monday. It's the same key levels. We have the POC/golden pocket retracement sitting between 118.3 and 116.928. This is your bigger golden pocket pulled from the actual high here. This local golden pocket is only pulled from the impulse to the downside. But our full golden pocket sits right here in confluence with the POC of the golden pocket, the POC, and you also have a 786 here from that local pull from this high, right? So you have a local 786, full golden pocket retracement, and the POC. That is going to be the next confluent level of resistance. So if we do get another bigger push to the upside, this is still an area where we could still put in a lower high before a lower low. Unless we see that 4-hour money flow crank back into the green, right? That would be the anticipation. Any pushes to the upside, you have to be careful of lower highs and lower lows. And then really where that becomes invalidated, guys, is not until we get above this POC and start breaking out of this value area high and getting on top of this 786, which, by the way, does sit at $121,062, right? Once we get above there, maybe we come out and sweep some of this liquidity, and as long as we don't get a fake out of the all-time high, once again, right, because this is obviously the whole, like, theme of this cycle, guys, has been faking out the all-time highs. Fake out the all-time high, massive dump. Fake out the all-time high, fake out the all-time high, massive dump. And we have caught all the shorts, pretty much. I'm pretty sure we caught this one back here as well. Yeah, this was like 102K. Yeah, we shorted this as well, right? Like almost every time we push into those new all-time highs, we get the fake out and we get the drop to the downside. But I just, at the end of the day, we'll cross this bridge if and when we get there. This is not my base case, guys. I have to be honest. It would be beautiful. I am definitely rooting for it. This is my favored outcome, right, would be obviously getting the bigger breakout. But when I see the money flow coming out like this and I see these key levels of resistance, it is not until we get above these that I would be able to openly say, hey guys, now we can send it into new all-time highs. And again, as long as we don't get the fake out up here, we could just get that squeeze to higher prices. Not my base case. Money flow indicates the lower highs and lower lows are more likely. I'm going to stick with that, guys. It helped us catch this beautiful short position from the high, not only here, but also back here, also back here. It also helped us catch the moves back up, actually, in this situation with our 4-hour money flow crossover into the green, right? What were we looking at? Well, we simply flipped our value area low to support, which was actually a little bit different. The value area low was sitting right here, a little bit higher than it is now. But you see how money flow crossover into the green, trend is likely to continue up. You look for that full fill of the volume profile. So it was also able to, like almost every big move we get, right? Money flow is going to indicate which direction that's going to be in. And of course, it's in the red right now, right? So I do have to be aware of the lower highs and lower lows. And if we do just get some kind of like scam rip to the upside, next big level, once again, 118.3 to 116.9. Once we get above that, last level of defense is going to be sitting between about 119.638 to 121.61. 121.161. Once we get up here, then we can entertain the idea of new all-time highs. But until we do that, I'm not even really going to talk about it. I'll talk a little bit about it when we get into the longer term, but this is pretty much what I'm looking at. We're kind of just like clinging on to this value area low. Looks like we are potentially looking to lose it. Let me pull Market Cipher back up in full here so I can get actual momentum waves. So, the question is, if we can, or I should say the sentiment is, if we cannot get back inside this range, I would not be expecting a rally to the upside. If we can flip this back to support, maybe we can get the retracement back into our POC. But again, we still have local levels down here that we have to get above as well, right? And if I pull up our local profile, I got to say, right, we do have the I don't want to cover like all these huge levels that might take a little while to hit, right? So at this point, right, if we stay inside this volume profile, I'm going to be looking for a move up into the $113,700 value area high. Maybe we just wind up continuing to rotate this range before a bigger move down. But it's not until like once we break out of here, that's where we can start looking at the bigger range, right? Once we start breaking out of that volume profile, we could start to look for those bigger moves up towards the POC. But for me personally right now, guys, the biggest key levels I'm looking at, if we get another drop to the downsides, just so you guys have this on your chart, the next key level of support, in my opinion, is going to be the full golden pocket retracement from the low to the high here, which sits at about 107,445. Right here. This is the next key level of support if we get the next big drop to the downside, right? Like this, in my opinion, is kind of the last level that we can hold. If we'll get into this when we go over the long term, but this is the level to hold, guys. It ends at about 105, 119. I'm praying we can hold this level, because if we can't hold this level, guys, there is, in my opinion, probably going to be much more downside for Bitcoin. And once we get back down here, if I zoom out a little bit, you guys can see. Let me just hide this fib. Right? Full golden pocket retracement, right? I'm going to be looking for long positions down here for a potential bounce back to the upside. Does that mean that I think this is definitely going to be the bottom? Not necessarily. If money flow is still coming out, not only on the 4-hour, but you can see here, 12-hour money flow is now in the red. 16-hour money flow is also now coming into the red. Your daily money flow is in the red. This has been a bit choppy, as I talked about on the market update yesterday, but at the end of the day, this is in the red. Right? So I'm okay with retracements to the upside, but as far as money flow goes on many different time frames, guys, lower highs and lower lows is going to be the anticipation until proven otherwise. If you can prove me otherwise and we can catch a long position down here in the premium Discord, I'll just look to hold that. But again, like every time I talk about this money flow coming into the red, right, I always talk about how like I want it to be wrong, right? Like, I definitely want this to be wrong. I mean, we even talked about it up here. Like, I want this to be wrong. I don't want this money flow to come out and give us a big drop down, but it is oftentimes going to be the case. Money flow and the chart is the truth, guys, and money flow very, very rarely lies. So I don't really have a preference here. If we get the pop to the upside, I'll just be looking for lower highs. If we get the drop to the downside, I would prefer to be looking for a long position down here on our next big key level of support. Yeah, we have a monthly a tapped, I believe this is a tapped monthly MPOC, Golden Pocket 786, sitting between 107.5 to 105.1. If we lose this level, guys, and we zoom out and we pull up our macro levels of support, you can see this is obviously going to bring us to a very, 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 very important level, which is going to be this value area high zone. And if I just hide this Fibonacci retracement just so it doesn't confuse everybody, right? Like, I still, from a very simple standpoint, do not want to get accepted into this range, guys. And if we go down for that Fibonacci retracement, guess what? We are below this value area high. Can you get the bounce there? Will I be looking for longs? Yes, but I'm going to be very careful around that $108,000 value area high. If we can get above there, right, obviously we would hope to get accepted back into this range for the bigger move up. And then, you know, again, like, could it scam up from there? Yes. But if money flow is coming out, guys, that's not going to be my anticipation. Now, I'm not going to know what it's going to look like until we get all the way down here and then start to retrace. If high time frame money flow is coming out on those retracements, guys, I am looking for lower highs and lower lows. And I'm just going to say it right now. I'm going to keep the bullish case as well. But if we see money flow coming out as we're getting these retracements to the upside, guys, I am going to have to fire some warning shots and start talking about potentially the top being in on Bitcoin. I'm not calling the top right now, but I'm just saying, depending on how we see this play out, maybe we don't even have to come down here. But if we start coming down there, guys, we need a quick rip to the upside with money flow coming up. It's really got to get going very, very aggressively, because if we start hanging out down here, obviously, if you watch the channel, you will know, just from a very simple perspective, I'll get the Fibonacci retracements off the chart. I'll even hide this blue box to make it super simple. It's like you have value up here. You know, sure, we have a little volume profile down here, which is kind of what we wound up bouncing off of on that wick. But at the end of the day, guys, if we get accepted into this macro range, guess what? Just like up here, it is the same exact theory. The same exact theory. Deviate above the high, get accepted back into the range. What is the anticipation once you're below that value area high and you can't break out? You were looking for a move to the POC and the value area low. And this was exactly our plan before that mega termination liquidation wick to the downside. And obviously, I was not expecting price to just instantly teleport to 102K. But you could see, like, once these candles closed on the daily, it pretty much just wound up closing right on this value area low, which again was that anticipation, right? Lose the value area high, go to the POC, go to the value area low. And this is really where we're hanging out right now if you minus that liquidation wick. So even when you get these crazy liquidations, like, you could see where you wind up settling down. If we didn't have the big liquidation wick, this would just look like a super clean volume profile fill to the value area low. But again, money flow coming out is kind of making me, you know, everyone always says, Frankie, I learned the volume profiles from you. I'm able to trade them on the deviations below for the longs, deviations above for the shorts. I've been crushing it on the volume profiles, but how do I know whether this range is higher probability to break to the upside eventually or break to the downside eventually? Because obviously, price is not just going to go sideways here forever. At some point, we're going to pick a direction and go. And again, one of those big things that I would look at, right, is money flow to anticipate if you're either going to get a rotation back up to the high of the range or even break out. And when we look at something like the 4-hour, in the 5-hour, right? If we take a look at the 4-hour here, right? Would I be anticipating to go from this value area low to the POC, above the POC, into the value area high and beyond? Well, probably not. And again, we shorted this POC. Even though we didn't make it up to the value area high, we still shorted this point of control because of the context on the golden pocket that we had here and money flow, right? Once this money flow starts coming out, I'm thinking that it's probably less likely that you're going to get that full continuation through the profile, and it's much more likely that you're going to get a bigger breakdown below the range, right? And then once you get back in, what's money flow doing now? It's crossing into the green, making it much higher probability that you're going to get that fill and potentially come above. But now we're in a situation where, if I wanted this to reclaim and fill this entire profile for new all-time highs after that, right? I mean, even if I was just looking for this full rotation of the volume profile, what do I want to see here on money flow? I want it to look like it looked back here, right? With money flow coming up, deviate below, get back in, money flow crosses green, you fill the range. Deviate above, get back in, get accepted into the range, money flow comes out, you fill it to the low, right? If I wanted this to rotate to the high, if I were looking from just a chart perspective, right, I would literally need this money flow to look the opposite of the way it looks right now. I need it to be in the red to cross over into the green. We literally have the opposite of that happening right now. So it's really hard for me to call for a confident, hey guys, if we get back in here, it's definitely going out into all-time highs. Money flow is pointing against that, not only on the 4-hour, but the 5-hour, the 6-hour, the 16-hour, the 12-hour, the daily, even on the higher time frames. This is not pointing towards a massive move through the range and out to the highs. Is it impossible? No. Am I rooting for price to just go up? Yes. But when we look at the charts, we have to understand what we're looking at here, right? Money flow is very rarely wrong. And, I would say if it was going to be wrong at one point, I hope it's this time, right? I hope we just get that big move up. But again, the charts are going to give you that clear view and the rational and logical view of the markets, not just hoping for up only. And I think right now, with where we are in the market, I think, generally most people are hunting for someone to just tell them it's going up, right? Because they want to feel better. But if I can just give a word of insight here, chasing that is not going to help you make money, right? It's only going to make you feel better. It's not going to make your bank account feel better. Now, again, I'm not calling the top. I'm not saying that the bearish case is guaranteed to play out. Again, I'll go over some of the bullish signs as well. And when we get to the long term, I'm gonna kind of go over the high time frame bearish signals, the high time frame bullish signals, and I'll just let you guys do the math, right? We just see which one has more confluence, right, or what has more agreeance, right? The bullish case or the bearish case, and you can make your own decision, right? But that's what I'm looking at, right? So if we get that next drop to the downside, watch that golden pocket 786 retracement. But I do want to be clear, guys. We don't really want to hang out down here too long, right? The worst case scenario I could potentially see here is maybe a swing failure. But at that point, it's we're probably coming down to take this low. To be quite honest, guys, if we cannot hold this 786, which again sits at about $105,000, which coincidentally is very close to the 786 that we didn't want to lose initially, which was right here at $104,000. We start losing this zone, guys, and we do not get a strong bounce. Even if we get a bounce, right? Not that I'm not going to look to take longs, but if we wind up getting bounces here, either no bounce or a lackluster bounce to get accepted into the range, I'm looking down towards $96,000. And I'm going to take a look at the liquidation heat map as well, which also we have some liquidity sitting down here as well, right? So, it's just based off the volume profiles, just like up here, deviate above the high, get in, POC value area low. If we get stuck in here, accept it. It's the same exact thing, right? It's not what I want to call for. It's not what I want to see happen, but again, even, I didn't want to see this happen either. I didn't want to see that drop to the downside either, but obviously we were able to make some money on that. So, it's just an opportunity for us as traders, but if we get accepted in here, guys, and we can't hold this $102,000 zone, the only other thing that I could see is the next place I'd be looking to take a long after this is honestly coming down here, maybe to SFP into the POC at 96.6, right? But either way, get accepted into this volume profile. The next big level to look at is $96,000. This would not be good for Bitcoin long term, in my opinion. Is it possible to bounce here and just get the massive move to all-time highs from here? I mean, maybe. But when we take a look at where we are in the cycle here, guys, it is getting very close to the longest it's ever taken to go from a halving to an all-time high. Can it extend? Sure. That would make this time very much different, and that is possible, right? But it's never going to be my base case, and when we get into the long term, it'll kind of make a little bit more sense. But I'm just going to keep it simple here, guys. We don't hold this 786 zone, 104 to 105K. I'm going to be expecting lower prices on Bitcoin, and the problem with that is if we start losing this, right? Sure, we can get a bounce off the POC. Again, this would be a place where I'd be looking for long positions, but my context for these longs, just to give kind of insight, if I take a long off this POC, am I looking for this just all right, that's the long to new all-time highs? I mean, maybe I can hold that, and if it surprises us, it gives us that runner into all-time highs. I'm happy with that, right? I'm never just going to be perma bullish, perma bearish, right? That makes no sense for me. I can make money in both directions. And even if I think we're going to continue down, I could take long positions here. It doesn't mean that I think it's just going to go up to all-time highs. I'm going to be very, very careful for continuations of the lower high, lower low scenario on the higher time frames. And that is going to be heavily based on what the high time frame money flow looks like, right? And we'll get into this in a second when I go over the long term, right? Is that weekly money flow starting to bleed out as we get down there? And if you guys watch the channel, this has been my sentiment forever. Ever since we got this initial breakout, it's like we want to hold on top of this 107 to 108K zone. Right? You do not want to get accepted in here. If you get accepted in here, guys, I personally think there is a much higher probability that the top is in. Now, we're not there yet. Again, I'm not calling the top, right? Maybe we come down here, it looks really good. We have to let the information develop. But I just really want to show how important this level is. We've talked about it ever since we got the breakout here in July. It's okay to test it, get the move up. Once we got this test, we were looking for new all-time highs. We got it. But it was very lackluster. Very lackluster. So keep it in mind, 107, 108K. If we dip below into $105,000 on that Fibonacci retracement, right? Again, this is from a trading perspective. I will be looking for longs down there, but that does not necessarily mean that I think that the money flow is all going to turn around, right? I would probably be looking at this as a scalp or a day trade until proven wrong and it winds up turning into a swing trade. But I'll be taking profits along the way. If it runs, I'll hold a portion of it. But again, my anticipation here off of money flow has to be for lower highs and lower lows. So we're in a little bit of a choppy, confusing situation here, guys. And wait until we start talking about the long term. So if we get back above the value area low, watch the next key levels of resistance, which I will actually hide some of this just to clean it up for you guys. I mean, yeah, this golden pocket isn't even... I'll take this off the chart real quick, right? So let me just take that off, right? So if we do get back into this range and we get some kind of shocking push to the upside, next significant level is going to be the POC in the 117 to about 118.3. Once we get above that, I would be looking to go to the value area high, just treating that as a volume profile. And again, it's not until we break above that 786 at 121,100 that I would be looking for new all-time highs. Again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't know how long it's going to take us if we want to get up there. I don't know how long it's going to take. But for me personally, right, like I am either waiting for a move down here. Like I said, I've not taken any new positions. I'm just holding my short position because that's the direction of money flow. I'm happy to capitalize on that continuously if we get that continuation down. But yeah, I would say the next big level is about $107,455 on the golden pocket, leading you down to the 786 at about 105K. Honestly, like we must bounce off this. If we don't bounce off this, guys, or like sweep the low and still get a massive bounce. Like we don't want to hang out down here. We want a quick test and a massive push to the upside. So that's the next key level that I'll be looking at. And then locally, I don't want to cover too many like super hyper local levels. But of course, as we look at our local range here, I will be aware of deviations below this volume profile once again for potential scalp long positions back up to the high. But again, that's lower time frame. But for the day traders, for the scalpers in here, this is the local. I would prefer to get another deviation below this before looking for another move up. But if you are out there day trading or scalping, this is the local range to look at, in my opinion. 110,371, POC sitting at 112,870, 112,856. And then again, that value area high sits at 113,8. So those are the local levels. These are the macro levels, right? Even if we get a massive push up, right? It's like, oh my God, we're pumping. Still an opportunity to put in a lower high and get the bigger breakdown. And again, a lot of times when we see these wicks, guys, you can see a fill to wick scenario. But again, I'm only holding a short. I don't really have much of a favor in what direction I'm looking for short term here. I'm just waiting to either come back up to these highs or come back down to these lows and start to look for new positions. Other than that, I'm just waiting for this to break. If I can catch along on that local range low, like maybe I'll just continue to trade inside this volume profile, back up to the high, back down to the low until it either breaks back up to the bigger level or back down to the bigger level. But for the main big levels, I am waiting for 107.4 to 105K or up here to the bigger levels of resistance, 117 to 118.3 or 120 to 121K. So yeah, I would say if you're just looking for simple levels, again, I like to cover as much as possible because I know we have all different types of traders and investors in here. You know, some people want long-term, some people want short-term. But I would just look at it like this, right? If you're not looking for like the smaller time frame trades, it's like, well, hey, if we get a move down here, I know that's my next big significant level. If we get a move back up here into that golden pocket zone, that's my next big significant level to the upside, right? So let me know when we get down here or up here, and I'll look to take a new trade or a bigger trade. And other than that, I'm just looking for scalps on the local kind of like mini volume profile that we formed down here. So there you go. I do want to cover some of the higher time frames as well, guys, because I know like everybody's question here is the bear market here? Are we going to zero? Is the bull market going to continue? And I wish I could give a super clear answer on this, but instead I'm just going to show you what I'm looking at on the charts, and we'll just build out a list of bullish cases or bullish puzzle pieces and bearish puzzle pieces, right? So something interesting that is happening right now, if I just hide this TA, right, and we come on over to the RTY, is that we have now gotten another push back above. Actually, I have to show the TA here, right? We are now back above here for the RTY. This is the Russell 2000, or, I like to think of this as like the altcoin market of the stock market, right? These are the lower cap stocks. Typically, when we see breakouts on the RTY, this is where the alts start doing well, and it could just be good for crypto in general. This is a positive puzzle piece, right? This is a bullish puzzle piece. This is good. But again, I'm just going to make a list here, right? We'll have bulls and bears, right? And then we'll come to a conclusion towards the end, right? So RTY, 1 point for the bulls. That's nice. This is what we want to see. Bullish puzzle piece number 2, as we've looked at. Bitcoin dominance, right? I'll take a look at it on the alt chart here, or the alt template, right? Bitcoin dominance. This has technically gotten rejected here, but just like we could fill the wick on Bitcoin to the downside, you could potentially fill this wick, like even here, if you look, right? Big wick to the upside, and then eventually you wind up filling that wick out, right? Big wick to the upside. Are we going to wind up filling that out? This would obviously not be good for altcoins, but at the end of the day, right, you have the daily money flow crossing into the green. This could indicate that the trend is going to continue up, right? It's honestly, if we pull up the higher time frames, 3-day money flow and VWAP is coming down here. So 3-day money flow still looks weak. 4-day money flow still looks weak. And the VWAP is also rolling over. Right now, we have closed these candles below the golden pocket, right? So this is still an opportunity to put in a lower high before continuing that dump down on dominance. And if we do have to come fill this wick, just understand we can still get a lower high here on this golden pocket 786. Now, this is obviously not going to be the best case for altcoins as we move up there. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to dump, but Bitcoin's just going to outperform them for the most part. But these are still the 2 big levels that we could put in those lower highs for lower lows. And I would say on the higher time frames, Bitcoin dominance looks pretty bearish as far as the long-term trend goes. But it could still, right? We've talked about this on the live stream. Be careful of those bullish divergences that we saw forming down here. Probably about time for dominance to start getting a retracement to the upside. We had gotten the big drop down, lower high, lower low as the money flow was in the red. And then as we see this money flow continue to the upside with our bullish divergences. With our bullish divergences, higher low, lower low, right? We anticipate price to come up, and we were looking for a retracement into this zone. We obviously got the wick up into the bigger zone, but at the end of the day, these are still massive resistances on Bitcoin dominance. So, could we fill the wick? Yes. Could we still put a lower high in here? Yes. Would that be not that great for altcoins? Probably. But I would say overall, longer term, money flow still looks kind of weak here on the 3-day, still looks kind of weak on the 4-day. And I guess that would be a bullish puzzle piece, technically, right? Even if you have to endure a little bit more pain, let's say we do come up here in worst case scenario and then reject the 786 for another lower high and another lower low, right? You have your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low. If it doesn't come in here, I would be looking right up in here to fill the wick. Either way, still an opportunity to put in that lower high. It wouldn't be until we start breaking above that POC where I think it gets much more bearish, right? For altcoins at least. So I would consider this, as of right now, still a bullish puzzle piece for the bulls. Right, so we have Bitcoin dominance, you have the RTY, and for what it's worth, right, I guess you could argue that we are going into a rate cutting cycle, right? So we'll just say rates. We'll say rates is, we'll give them 3. We'll give them three bullish points, right? So that's the bullish case, right? Those are the bullish puzzle pieces. You got the RTY attempting to get the breakout. You got the dominance coming down on the higher time frames, which could still be turbulent, right? But over time, that could be continuation to the downside. And then you are entering a rate cutting cycle, right? So there you go. There's the bullish puzzle pieces. Now let's go over the bearish puzzle pieces. Let's pull up Bitcoin. Number 1, I'm just going to go over like stuff that is not chart related, right? Timing of the cycle, which I guess could be chart related, right? We are coming up to what we would expect to be the end of the 4-year cycle. I know everybody says this time is different. Could it be? Absolutely, right? This is not my base case. I am prepared for it to potentially be different, but this is not my base case. Everybody that says this time is different, just to show you, this is not my opinion. This is just what has happened in the market. Oh my God, this time is different. This is the biggest bear market ever. Are you an idiot? We have FTX collapsing, exchanges going down, regulation's going to come down harder than ever. You're an idiot if you think this isn't different. We're going down to 3K. We're going down to 8K. What happens, right? The bears that were hoping for lower did not get it. Same thing up here. This time is different. Golden bull market. Don't you get it? Bitcoin is more bullish than ever. What happens? 100K incoming. We don't get anywhere near, right? This time is different, wrecked. This time is different, wrecked. Same thing in every cycle, right? Oh my God, this time is different, maybe, right? I don't remember the sentiment as clearly back here. But down here, definitely this time is different. Definitely this time is different. Cooked. They get cooked every time. Now, at some point, right, a broken clock is right once a day, twice a day. So eventually, I do expect this cycle to be different, right? But it's very hard to call exactly when that's going to be. Just like you have all this stuff, oh my God, institutions, ETFs, this time is different. We have institutions, right? But like this time is also different, right? You have the Coinbase IPO. Oh my God, it's the most bullish thing ever. Massive dump. So I never pay attention to the narratives, guys. The narratives are basically for retail to get sucked in my opinion, right? And again, this is not really my opinion. This is just like Coinbase IPO, literally the top. Back here, very close to almost the exact top in 2019. What was this? This was the Facebook unveiling their Libra stablecoin. Literally, oh my God, Facebook and crypto? Literally the top before the not bear market, but the Black Swan event of C19. And we even talked about this last week, I think, or I think we talked about this on Monday, right? I know a lot of people are comparing what's happening right now to C19. I don't think these are comparable times, right? Like, I just don't know if this is a comparable situation, right? Because, like, I'll explain why in a second. But back here, right? A few days, right? Maybe a couple weeks before the new all-time high. CME futures launch. Oh my God, this is so validating. Mass adoption. Crypto's real. It's not a scam anymore. Literally the top, right? So this is just some examples of why I don't pay attention to narratives, guys. You know, you see on the news, Coinbase IPO. Oh my God, maybe. And you see Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Coinbase IPO. People see this on the news and they're thinking like, oh my God, I got to get in. This is obviously mainstream now, right? It's literally just sucking retail in, right? So just a couple of examples why I don't pay attention to narratives. And you might say to yourself, well, if you were paying attention to the tweets, on Friday, you would have, well, we already caught the short, but like people would just say like, oh, but that tweet, like if you say it doesn't move the market, like look at this tweet. We were short from up here. Like the signs to go short were already up here, right? Typically when we're looking for longs and it plays out, when there's a news event that happens, if we take a long position based off the charts and we get a big move up, or let's just say we start getting a move up and then there's a big news event that carries us up, it's like I'm taking the long here if the chart tells me to, whether the narratives are good or bad, right? I'm just taking the trade off the chart, and then 99% of the time, I would say, almost every single time, whatever that news that winds up coming out is just in favor of our short, of our long or short, right? Whatever position we're in. So for this example, right, we have the technical reasons we were looking for the short here, looking for our rotation back down to about $111,000 to $112,000. Bitcoin is coming in right now at $111,287, guys, and has pretty much settled out here, right? We were looking for this move based off the chart. All of a sudden, we get that tweet to come in. Well, guess what? Like, all that does is assist our move to the downside, right? Has everything to do with the chart, right? Money Flow was calling for this way before we saw that tweet come in. Now, it's not going to be 100% all the time, but I would say literally like 9 out of 10 times that is the case, right? This is why I don't pay attention to narratives, right? Because like if you're on the right side of the trade when it comes to the chart, I would say maybe like 1 out of 10 times the chart will say short, and then a news event will just scam against that, right? I would say it's like literally 1 out of 10. I don't know the actual statistics, so take that with a grain of salt. But overwhelming majority will be on the right side of the trade regardless of the news. I don't care what the news is. I'm short, guys. I don't care what the news is, but hopefully if we get news, it's bearish tomorrow because that would make sense, right? It's almost like you could predict it. It's like, I don't know, like we would need a pretty big drop down to get down here. Like I wonder if, maybe we would need news to get down there, and then just fill in the blank there. Show me the charts. I'll tell you the news every single time, right? But just a couple of examples why I don't pay attention to narratives, right? So when it comes to timing of the cycle, hoping this time is different. And again, I root for this time to be different. I root for Bitcoin to go up, but I think it's totally irresponsible for me to just call up only without like giving a good argument for it, right? Like, and again, this is why I'm going over the actual evidence pieces with you guys, right? So I could show you where I'm coming. Like, I'm not just coming to these conclusions because it's what I want to feel, right? It's just like based off what I'm looking at. And I want you guys to do this with me, right? So timing of the cycle, right? So it's like we would expect that you're coming up somewhere close to where the end of the cycle is, right? So from a cycle perspective, that would be a point for the bears. Now, just looking at our Bitcoin chart, we've talked about this. I mean, we've talked about this way back in the day before they was even as significant. But obviously, if you guys watch the channel, you will know. All of our higher time frame bearish divergences on market cipher B are printed and potentially confirming. So back here, right, I had a lot of people asking me, Frankie, bearish divergence on the weekly, right? And this just goes to show, right? Like, is this a bearish sign? Absolutely. But what was my answer here? If you guys watch the channel, you will know. I'm sure a lot of people were kind of shocked. Like, wow, why is he saying a weekly bearish divergence isn't super bearish and not the top, right? But a lot of people are like, do you see this weekly bearish divergence? Do you see this 2-week bearish divergence? This is exactly what happened in 2021. How do you not think this is the top of the market, right? Well, based off the cycle, we had plenty of time to come into a new all-time high, right? And as far as other things, macroeconomic situation, all that good stuff, right? There was a lot, if you watch the show, you will know I was not in the camp that this was the high or this was the high, right? So even with these bearish divergences, was it bearish? Absolutely. Did we short from $102,000 all the way down to 75K? Absolutely we did, right? But it was just still, this is where we were looking to flip long for new all-time highs, which we once again got, right? So back here, all these divergences didn't really do much for me, right? Like, they didn't make me feel super like the top was in. But now it's a little bit more difficult, as I've covered recently, right? Now I don't really have the timing of the cycle to lean on here, right? I don't have to say, like, why would I, like, just think about this, right? Back here, people are like, oh my God, bearish divergence. It's like, well, is this really where I would expect the top to come in? Not really. We have time left in the cycle. If you pull up the cycle chart, right, it's like we have plenty of time to continue up to put in a new all-time high. Again, like rate cuts, all this stuff that we were waiting for, very high probability. Then on top of the fact that, we didn't break any significant structure, right? We just put in a higher low on our golden pocket 786, exactly as you would look for a higher low and a higher high to come, which we got, right? So it was very easy. I wouldn't say easy, right? But it was easier to be more confident about me. Like, there's just no reason for me to think this is the top of the market, right? There's no reason for me. A lot of people thought this was the start of the bear market too. No reason to make me think that was the start of the bear market, right? It was just too early in the cycle. It just wouldn't have made any sense, right? Like, Bitcoin makes a 7% new all-time high, and that's the end of the cycle. Very unlikely. But now it's very hard for me to argue this, right? Because now when we look at these signs, you have your weekly, right? You have your bearish divergence here, high to high. You have your lower high, right? And then you even put in another local weekly bearish divergence here that wound up giving you this bigger drop down with your lower high, right? So that was a little bit more local. But now you can see, right, we were just continuously putting in higher highs with lower highs on our momentum waves, right? Even here, higher high, lower high, right? And when I look at this from an overall, just like a general perspective, like, this is an overall bearish divergence, right? We just generally have momentum coming up, right? Let me just get rid of some of this stuff just to clean up the chart, right? We just generally have here, I'll just draw it with a brush to make it nice and simple, right? Just clear higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, and momentum is just slowly leaving the market, right? This is these are massive bearish divergences, which are obviously something to pay attention to, because when you get to the point where you are pretty close to the end of the cycle of what you would think was the end of the cycle, and you start to see these bearish divergences, now this is a different scenario. And again, it doesn't guarantee the top is in, but this is definitely, like, I would give this more than 1 point, right? Because not only are they massive weekly bearish divergences, we have the 2-week bearish divergences. Again, it's like you have multiple drives here, right? You have higher high, lower high, higher high, lower high, right? So it's just like continuously coming up as momentum is coming down. That is a clear divergence. So it's like I would give this 2 points for the bears, right? And then on top of that, we start to have some of this high time frame money flow coming out, right? And actually, I pull this up over here. When we look at the high time frame money flow, guys, this is a good thing to keep an eye on. When you look at the 4-day, this 4-day money flow does not look very good, right? And then again, I know that the 2-day, well, 2 days actually not really looking too hot anymore either, right? Money flow is just trending out. It doesn't have to be crossing into the red just yet. This is generally trending down. Just draw, if you don't know what you're looking for here on the money flow, just connect your highs. That is trending out. If we look at the 3-day, 3-day looks a little bit better, right? This, I would, you could still potentially argue. I wouldn't say that. I guess over the cycle, right? High, lower high, lower high. But for the most part, the 3-day looks okay, right? 4-day looks pretty bad. 5-day doesn't look too hot. 6-day looks pretty good. Weekly looks pretty good, right? So, you could argue that this is trending out as well. You have a divergence here on your price action and your money flow, right? You have price going higher, but money leaving the asset. That typically warrants a correction. There's massive bearish divergences here, guys. And these, we've looked at this many a times, but again, my sentiment had been different back here And even back here, it was a little different, right? But it's a lot harder for me to argue at this point in the cycle. It's like we have these divergences printing right here on the 1-to-1 time fib. This is not something I look at on the chart and say like, oh, wow, this looks super bullish. We're about to massively rip to the upside, right? Like this is typically what you're looking for bigger dumps to the downside. Now, again, for this to point towards a massive a typical 4-year cycle bear market, not a 4-year bear market, but just a typical cycle bear market that you would expect, right? Where you typically spend a good amount of time coming down and then, kind of settling out. We could cross that bridge and kind of get a little more nitty gritty when we get there. But, when you get to the end of the cycle like this, I hope you guys understand that it's really hard. It's not like we're coming down with massive bullish divergences and money flow coming up. We're just making higher high after higher high after higher high with consistent bearish divergences on money flow and momentum. So these are, I would say that would be like 2 or 3 points for the bears. I'll just make it 2. So we're not super unfair, right? So you got the bearish divergences. The chart kind of looks like it might want to cool off. And you're coming up to the end of the cycle. And again, could this time be different? I hope it is, right? I hope it is. But again, just remember, back here, people say the same thing, right? And again, I'm not saying that they're going to be wrong this time. They might be right this time. As a matter of fact, I hope they are right. I hope this bull run does continue, guys. But, the chart is also now saying that we could potentially get a big correction to the downside. And again, hopefully it is some kind of a correction for a big bounce and we save it and we come back in and maybe the cycle extends. But at the end of the day, there's nothing really on the chart here that screams up, 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 oh my God, this is super bullish, right? If anything, I would say, if not like a massive correction, like it just looks more generally bearish with these divergences, right? So there you go. There is divergences cycle-wise, and we gave 2 points for the divs. So, to be quite honest, guys, like, I don't even know if you would really count the Bitcoin dominance as a bullish puzzle piece for the bulls. It's more just like for the altcoins. But, like, that's really what I'm looking at here. And when you really sit down and you think about it, I hope alt season comes, right? And again, plus side is, maybe dominance can continue down based off the high time frame money flow. Again, right? And just to show that, like, we're not just biased here calling for down or up. Again, I'm not calling for up or down. I'm not saying I want one. I mean, I want up more. But, I'm not just, like, making random guesses here. Like, I'm actually taking pieces on the chart and basing it off real information, right? And you have to understand that, I look at the 3-day on Bitcoin dominance, the 2-day on Bitcoin dominance. This looks super bearish, right? So, like, that's why I have to give that point to the bulls or the altcoin bulls, right? So, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're a perma bear. It's like, not the case at all, right? I hold a lot of crypto. If you saw my portfolio, you'd be like, oh my God, this guy's definitely not bearish on crypto, right? I'm always rooting for the upside, but I'm just against just calling for up for no reason, right? Like when I look at this chart, right? And you guys will notice a lot of the times I'm like forced to be a contrarian, right? Like everybody thought, not everybody, right? But like a lot of people thought I was a moron for looking for the higher low here for a new all-time high. Right? But like I'm very explicit about this. I'm like, guys, we have bullish divergences into the level that we would expect a higher low to come in on. And we have bullish divergences with what? Bullish divergences, lower lows on price action, higher lows on your momentum waves, and you have money flow coming up. Right? Like there's reason to call for upside there. I just don't know, even if we get another bounce to the upside, it's just like, it's getting real close. It's getting real close. So I just don't want to cover only the bullish case here. And again, I root for up all the time. I hope we go up. I hope the TA is wrong. And again, I'm not calling the top either, because remember, like if you just want like a simple line in the sand, which it's just not that simple, but like if you just really want a level that you can look at, it's really the 786 at about $105,000, right? If we can't, I'm okay with liquidation, right? Maybe you get a wick and then you reclaim, like that's okay. But you really just don't want to lose this level. And I think looking at it from the volume profile perspective is simple, right? It just kind of simplifies it, right? And when we look at this, right, from the, where is my dang massive range? There we go, right? Like when I look at this, like how do I have to view this, right? I have to view this as weekly bearish divergences on a massive deviation above the volume profile. This is bearish confirmations on a high time frame. If this pushes us back into the range and we get accepted in here, guys, I'm expecting to come down to $96,000 to $92,000. And again, when we get down here, could this be a bottom before a massive move up? I'm going to be very clear here with you guys. From the low to the high. You have golden pocket confluence here. And when you look at this from a Fibonacci perspective, it could be low, high, higher low, higher high. So Frankie, if you were looking for a higher low over here, which that's the wrong fib, but it was this fib, right? If you're looking for a higher low here and a higher high, why not look for a higher low on this golden pocket 786 for a higher high? Cycle timing? Cycle timing and the fact that if we get down here, guys, I would have to assume that money flow is coming out on the higher time frames. And I always bring this example up because I think it's the simplest way to look at it. It's the same thing as this. Pull from the low to the high. People would ask me here, Frankie, why are you not looking for a higher low for a massive higher high? Isn't this a Fibonacci retracement? Isn't this where higher lows come in? Sure. But context is everything. At this point, 4-year cycle is kind of played out, right? Number 2, money flow is absolutely coming to the downside. And this is something interesting I wanted to show you guys today on the stream. I've been a little confused here because your 4-day money flow looks super bearish, but then when you look at like the 2 and the 3-day, it doesn't look that bad, which typically you'll see the 2 and 3-day money flow come out first, and then the 4-day will follow suit. It's not usually the other way around like it is right now. But if we look at 2021, look at your 4-day money flow. Your 4-day money flow was actually one of the earlier signals happening right here, right? 4-day money flow crosses into the red, right? And at that point, your high time frame money flows in the red. I am not looking for higher lows here. Just because it's a golden pocket 786 does not mean that it's an area you would look for a higher low. But the context, in this context, where you have money flow coming out, cycle timing is similar to what we're seeing right now. This is not a high probability area to put a higher low in for another higher high. It is a high probability area, but context-wise, you would not be expecting that, right? Because when money flow comes out, indicating the overall trend, I'm expecting lower highs and lower lows. And everybody hated me for calling for that, right? But we ended up being right. So, and again, back here, I hoped I was wrong too, right? But I'm really glad that I took profit, right? I sold my bags and didn't have to just fall into the trap of this time is different, this time is different, this time is different. That narrative is easy to get sucked into, guys, because you have to understand it's going to go, if you want price to go up, which I think everybody does, anytime you hear that, you're going to be more inclined emotionally and humanly, you're going to want to just believe that, right? You're going to be more inclined to believe that. And hey, I hope that happens. I hope I believe, I would say I believe that, but you have to look at the other side of the coin, right? Because the last thing you want to do is round trip your bags. So again, this is not to spread fear. This is not to say that I am super, super bearish. As a matter of fact, I'm just kind of waiting for more information. But again, when I try to front run these moves, you have to look at the chart and take the chart for what it's worth. Can it all fake out? Can the money flow fake out? Can all the indicators fake out? Absolutely. But you can't just use that as a base case, right? You kind of have to use what the chart is saying until proven otherwise. So what I would say here is when you look at this as a massive deviation above your volume profile, bearish divergences, 4-hour money flow not looking too hot. Here's the thing. You could still come down here. It's not until we get stuck underneath here and we get the bigger drop down towards the POC where it's really starting to look a lot worse, right? Where it's like, hey, this is now looking like money flow comes out on the high. If we get on this, we come back down here and get a retracement to the upside, and that 4-hour money flow is crossing into the red. What am I thinking, guys? What am I thinking? I'm thinking the same exact thing as back here. 4-day money flow crosses into the red right here. You get the bounce. Lackluster retracement, money flows in the red, lower high, lower low. It's going to be the same sentiment. I've covered this, many a times, right? I've gone over this situation tons of times, but I think it's really important to cover this and just kind of show you guys. Yeah, we got the RTY. That's beautiful, right? I mean, I guess rate cuts, somewhat good too. But, when you look at the multiple weekly bearish divergences, monthly bearish divergences, 2-week bearish divergences, money flow, although a little bit mixed, like I said, again, you look at the 4-day and it's like, it looks kind of garbage. And then you look at the 3-day and the 2-day and it's like, this looks okay, right? But again, when we come back to 2021, that 4-day actually front ran I believe, the 3-day and the 2-day, right? So there's the 4-day money flow crossover. Happened on the 9th of November of 2021. The 3-day money flow came back into the green. And the and the 2-day money flow was behind the 4-day as well. Right, 4-day crossed over into the red right here, which again is not very common, but it is interesting that we saw it happen at a very similar time, right? If I had to compare where we were as far as this cycle goes, right, from a timing perspective, like this isn't even my opinion, right? From a timing perspective, if you were trying to figure out where we are, right, like say, there's the bottom of the bear market, there's the top of the bull market, here's the bull market, right? If you're trying to guess where we are in the cycle in our current price action, we're literally right here. right? Like we're like where the top came in last time from a timing perspective, right? And that's what that 1-to-1 fib, time fib does, right? It shows us the length of that last cycle, right? So we're coming up to that area, right? That's like literally where we're sitting in the cycle. And yes, Q4 is oftentimes good for markets, but you can't really rule out the fact that, like, I mean, where did we put we put this high in on about October 20th, and then like that last sweep of the high happened on November. Like the end of the day, right? Like the cycle was, I mean, we were pretty much topped out all the way in the beginning of October, right? Regardless of like one last stab to the upside. And this is why I've been saying, if we do see new all-time highs, again, I pray that it rips us up to 500K, 300K, whatever the targets are out there. But I am still in the camp that if we do get another move to the upside, it is probably going to be more something like one last move to the upside before the top comes in, right? And that's kind of been our thought process. Like if the top wasn't in, we talked about it back here, if the top wasn't in at 124K, right, maybe we just get one more last parabolic move to the upside. I was hoping it wouldn't be this lackluster, right? And again, if we do get another move up, like I wouldn't really expect it to just go into some kind of massive bull run. I don't know why people would think that, right? Unless you're going with the this time is different vibe, which again, I hope I'm wrong, right? Like if I'm wrong about this time being different and we go into some crazy bull market in 2026 and it's just up only, like I am happy to be wrong about that. Let's be clear. Like I will celebrate being wrong about that. I don't care about being right or wrong, right? I have no ego when it comes to trading. It's why we're able to do so good. I just have no emotional attachment to either direction. But you just compare it, and it just starts to get very, very interesting, right? And I'll tell you what, guys. When the top comes in, typically not everybody's calling for the top. And again, I'm not calling the top right now. But we start getting stuck in here, guys. You'll see my tune change pretty quickly. Like, just have everybody ready, right? And especially trying to front-run all the confirmations, front-run all the money flow. Look at all these divergences forming above the volume profile. It's like, yeah, but we could put, this is a golden pocket, CME gap, fill it, go. Yeah, sure, right? Same things back here on the golden pocket 786. But if money flow's coming out, guess what? I'm doing the same thing I did last cycle. I'm not saying that I think this is going into new all-time highs. I would say lackluster bounce, lower high, lower low. And if it's happening on the 4-day, 5-day, 6-day, weekly, chances are that is probably going to be a pretty big drop to the downside. So, again, we're still above our key level of support. But with our 4-hour money flow, it's looking somewhat likely that we're going to come and play around with these levels. If we have to come back down here, guys, we want to hang out for 2 seconds, and we want to scoot the heck out of there. If we wind up getting stuck in there, guys, we get into a really, really difficult situation, right? And I hope, right? Maybe money flow looks super bearish down here, and whatever, we just scam into new all-time highs. There's going to be a narrative for that, right? But it's probably not going to be what I'm looking for. If we stay up here and we can scam back up, like, hey, let's cook. Let's cook. That's great. I just really don't. I mean, to me, it looks likely that we come down to test these levels. And it's just a very difficult situation. If we're down here tomorrow, man, I hope that, we go live and I'm like, oh my God, guys, this is so scary. And then all of a sudden we just start mooning to the upside. You do not want to hang out down here. And again, just to show the simple idea, it is the same thing as the local volume profiles, guys. We trade these every single day, and we do dang well doing it. It's the same thing here. Deviations above the high. Bearish divergences. Deviation above your value area high. Acceptance back in. POC value area low. It is the same thing. The exact same thing. Same theory. Works the same as just on a different time frame. Deviation above. Bearish divergences. Once you get accepted back into the range, you're looking for that full fill. And again, it wouldn't be that bad, right? Because you can get the bounce here. At that point, I'm saying to myself, like, am I really expecting higher highs here? Or am I just looking for lower highs and lower lows? And again, going back to 2021, I have to say, I'm not going to go over it again, but same thing here, right? Lower highs, lower lows based off money flow. All right, so we do get the drop down there. By some miracle, you would just need your weekly and your 4-day money flow to just like hold in the green as price goes down, which is not going to happen. So, we'll reassess the situation down here. If there's a reason to look up, we will, and chances are I'll probably be looking for longs at the POC and the value area low. I just don't know if the plan for those longs would be into new all-time highs. But it ain't over until the fat support breaks, guys. Like I said, as long as you hold above 107 to 108K, if we do get a drop down to those bigger key levels, you're just hoping that we don't close weekly or daily candles down there, right? Because even if you pull up the 50-week moving average, which we do cover a lot here, or at least recently, I don't go over very often. But if you look at the 50-week moving average, right, you just want to just go super, super simple. Look at your 50-week moving average, right? It's coming up now, right up in here, right? Once you lose that, this is what a lot of people look at to indicate if the bear market is going to start, right? We've held it as support, held it as support, held it as support, held it as support. We had now come down and tested that. So if we have to come back down and fill this wick, you are just hoping for some kind of quick push down, sweep the lows, and then get back up and send it back to the upside. You're hoping for something like this or something like this. But that's not going to be the case if we get stuck inside that volume profile and fill down to $92,000, right? Like we're probably at that point, right? I'll keep this 50-week moving average up, and I'll just like I was going to say raw dog. I'll just kind of draw this range, right? 104 to about $92,000, $91,000. Here's that volume profile for the most part, right? What are you doing there, right? You break back below that value area high, get stuck back in here. You're below the actual 50-week moving average, right? Down to the value area low at 91 to 92K. At that point, this moving average is doing something like this. On those retracements, that's where you would look for the bearish retest before sending it into the bear market. So, like, this is all probably going to be confluent as well. So, I'm hopefully not, right? But if I had to guess, like, this is probably what it's going to look like. But we got to break down. We got to lose this level, right? Again, it could get very scary before getting back up, right? But you are hoping for something like that, right? You do not want to get, this is the whole thing. You do not want to get stuck in this range. You go down to this value area low and get the bounce. You're below that 50-week moving average. Not good. You start closing multiple weekly candles down there. Very high probability that the bear market will start. So we could pray, right? We could pray. Hopefully we get some kind of narrative, some kind of news event, something to just send it to the upside. But again, I would think if that's going to happen, unless it's one of those rare times where it's just out of nowhere, I would think that it would be on the charts already. I don't see it, right? So we'll see what happens. If we go down and fill that wick, and we'll cover it here every single day with you guys. I'll walk you guys through it. I'll hold your hand through the whole way. But, you know, definitely not calling the top just yet. But it is, you know, I got to look, when I look at these charts, guys, it's just like, I have to just give the raw information. And that is what that raw information says. And I would say, you know, there's an argument to be made for both sides. I just don't think people cover the bearish side that much, right? I think they're more prone to, like, putting bulls and stuff on their thumbnails to get the most clicks. You know, that's fine. But I just can't do that, right? I have to show both cases because back here, everybody hated me until they all thanked me. It's like, oh my God, I hated you. And then I kind of thanked you because you wound up saving me a bunch of money, right? Not that you should copy what I do or, you know, take this all as financial advice. It's not a financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. But yeah, that would be the, yeah, like for simple, if you are someone who does not look at the charts very often and you just have a spot bag that you're looking at to try to preserve, right? The 50-week moving average is probably the best, the simplest thing to look at, in my opinion. Excuse me. 50-week moving average. Just watch this. We start closing underneath that. Very high probability we're going to go into a bear market, even back here. Right, you get above it, shoot to the upside. You hold it here. Just look at history. Slip it, bounce, tap it, bounce, slip it. Now you're back underneath. Right? We are hoping that we are not here, right? You lose it to fill the wick, bearish retest into what? The 50-week moving average. What happens after that? Bear market, right? So hopefully over the next week or so, we can see some of this stuff start to turn around and start to look a little bit better. But in my opinion, guys, I do think in order for all this to turn around, we pretty much got to break a new all-time high. Because, like, even on these levels, right, we have all this key resistance above. Got to get above here. Got to get above here. And then you can look for new all-time highs. Until then, I'm going to be very, very careful, especially if we break down here. So when I, like, Bitcoin on the edge, guys, is, like, an understatement. It's like we fall down here and can't get back up. Oh, it could get ugly. But again, I will be looking for longs. Hopefully, you know, if we do get the drop down here, we're live talking about, oh my God, we got the massive bounce, guys. Long is up big time. And hopefully that is the case. But that is what I'm looking at on the charts. Watch the money flow. And now you guys can make your own decisions, right? Maybe you see other stuff on the charts that we don't see. You can add that into your own analysis. But that's what I'm looking at on the charts. Weigh your options. And I think a lot of people are just like, you know, alt season. And again, Bitcoin dominance, I would say, like, if anything, that's one of the bullish puzzle pieces is that maybe we can see an alt season come in because if that dominance drops, that's what we'll probably wind up seeing. But here's the thing, and I was going to go into a little bit more. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I've pretty much almost spent this entire stream talking about the long term. But I think it's important. And, you know, with the dominance coming down, like if we see that drop, like maybe that's a bullish sign for the altcoins. But don't just, you know, when someone says something, like, ask them why, right? Like, I talk about this all the time, right? Like, every time people are calling for alt season, the only reason I mention alt season is because I actually have something to show for it. Hey, Frankie, why do you think there could be a possibility of alt season potentially coming? Well, I could show you, right? I'll pull up the dominance. I'll show you how this is all played out in the past. I could show you the TA. I could show you the trend. I could show you the money flow. I can show you the retracement levels, right? Doesn't mean it's going to play out, right? This can Lambo candle up here, flip that 786, and we're cooked, right? But I can actually show you, look at the long-term trend. Money flow coming out. Money flow coming out in the red, right? Money flow coming out, right? So when we expect that on the higher time frames, like there's a reason that if we are able to put these lower highs in and get another drop down, like that would cause alt season. Everyone else, and I don't want to say everyone else, but like more often than not, when you see people calling for alt season, like I don't know how many times the masses have been thinking alt season was coming and they were just wrong every single time. And every time until we got up here, right? This is the only other time I talked about alt season, right? It's like, maybe we can get alt season, right? And because we were coming into a massive retracement level. It was also the value area low. We have the bearish signs on market cipher B. There was a good chance we were going to get a drop here. And we saw this was in Q4 of 2024. We saw a lot of altcoins absolutely explode there, right? We saw things like XRP go crazy. I wouldn't consider that a full alt season. And it wound up not being a full alt season. But we did get a big pop on the altcoins. It was very nice, right? But then once we started getting up here, what was like the general thought process here for most people, right? All the headlines, alt season in February, alt season in February. I was very explicit about this, guys. I don't know why people were looking for that. You are back above your value area low on dominance. POC is the next stop. I don't know why this would call for alt season. We need this to go down. So I wouldn't just be like talking about alt season to like talk about alt season. It's just because we actually have this on the chart. And hey, it might not play out, right? But there is an actual reason to think about that, just like it was back here. But if we were flipping this value area low, or more importantly, this POC, there's no reason for me to be saying alt season, right? Like this would be bearish for altcoins, bullish for dominance. So try not to fall victim to it, right? Because like there is a lot of incentive to just be perma bullish on YouTube, on Twitter, right? It gets more clicks. It's what people want to hear. And it's really funny. Most people just want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth. Like they don't even care if you're right or wrong. They just want to hear something good. And yeah, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know if it's good for making money. So there we go. That is, shout out to Kilgannon said, thank you for the super chat, bro. And I'll come into the super chats. I'll come talk to the chat in just a second. But I just really wanted to talk about this, guys, because we got to take a look at this from a high time frame perspective. I pray that it just scams up. But there are a lot of signs on the chart that things look pretty bearish, right? And I would personally say, there's an argument for both sides, but from a technical perspective, there is a little bit more bearish puzzle pieces than there is bullish, right? So there's your probability. And again, it doesn't mean, right, just because our 4-hour money flow is coming out doesn't mean the top is in, right? We could still see a flush down and then a scam back up. It's until we get underneath 107K, things are all right? But again, looking at that 4-hour money flow, I just don't know how much longer we're going to hold above that, right? If we see that 4-hour money flow play out like it has almost every single other time we've looked at it, aka back here, money flow goes red, continuation down. Money flow crosses red right here, continuation down, right? If it plays out anything like any of the other times that you see the 4-hour money flow cross over into the red, chances are we're probably going to have to go down and play with those levels. And I just want to talk about how critical they are, that if we do get down there, we got to get out very quickly. And if anything changes, obviously we'll be here live every single day, and I'll update you guys. Be like, hey, guys, actually, right now we've come down to those key levels, and everything is different now. Maybe something changes. But until then, I got to stick with, what's happening here as far as the charts go. Let's see. Also, basically in a bear market now. Yeah, shout out to Petra. I mean, if you count the wicks, right? I mean, Cardano literally wicked down pretty much to the bear market lows. And we'll talk about this a little bit. Shout out to Crypto Billy in the chat, said, I'm not here to make money. I'm just here to, I just love me some Frankie Candle. Shout out to Crypto Billy. Welcome in, brother. Can you do your TA magic on, BITI, Biddy? I assume you're not talking about just good old Bitcoin. Okay, so let me just come into the super chats real quickly here, guys. Don't forget to smash that like button if you appreciate this TA, guys, and the daily updates. But let me see. Jimmy James said, Frankie, is money flow looking the same on most altcoins and coming out on most time frames. Shout out to Jimmy James. We'll take a look at the altcoins in a second. I'll go over all of that. But yeah, I mean, I would say even on like Ethereum, right? I would say money flow looks very similar. And, you know, you could see something where like the top comes in on Bitcoin, right? Or and then like the alts get a little bit of a rally. But yeah, I don't know. But money flow looks pretty much the same, right? Like daily money flow crossing into the red, 2-day money flow continuing out, 16-hour money flow in the red. This all looks the same as Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, unless we see like a true rotation from Bitcoin into the altcoins, chances are the altcoins are just going to follow Bitcoin. But yeah, right now money flow looks very, very similar. The one thing I am looking at is like the 3-day money flow, which again doesn't look super bad on, you know, it pretty much looks the same as Bitcoin, to be honest. So I would just say the money flow all looks the same on Bitcoin. I'm sorry, on the altcoins and Bitcoin. It all looks the same. So shout out to Jimmy James. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Shout out to Bit New. I can't see that whole name. It's like Bit New. I don't know what that says. But shout out to you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Say, can you take a look at TRX, please? Yeah, we'll try to take a look at TRX. No problemo. We're going to go over the big boys, and then if we have time, we'll run over TRX. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Quick reminder, guys, do not super chat your altcoins. Does not guarantee that we will look at it. You don't have to pay. You can just drop it in the free chat. Let's see. Shout out to Alt F4. Thank you for the super chat. Said end of cycle Ichimoku cloud. I haven't now looked at the Ichimoku clouds in quite some time. Maybe we'll pull that up. Shout out to Alt F4. Are they calling for it? Shout out to Alt F4. But I do want to be clear, guys, right? Like, I know it's like funny. Like, we looked at the bullish case too, right? Like, we do have a bullish case. But it's just not like a black or white situation. Like, I think a lot of people, you know, they just think like if you can read the charts, you're just going to know up or down instantly, right? Like, this is a very complicated situation. We can see all the TA get faked out. We can see all the TA play out. Like, this is a very, very difficult, complicated situation, right? So again, like I'm generally saying stay above 107 to 108K. We're in pretty decent shape, but it just looks like we're probably going to go down and visit that locally. So we're probably going to have to deal with that really hard situation. But shout out to Alt F4. Kilgannon, short from 15.5. Send it to Goblin Town. Let's go. Shout out to Kilgannon. Come on, baby. Come on. XRP Surfer, thank you for the super chat, said, it's hard to think bear market would start with all altcoin ETFs about to get approved this month. Shout out to XRP Surfer. I mean, this is two things, right? Like, it's either, it could just be like, let me just, I'm just going to show. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to show. $56 down. Coinbase IPO announcement, right? It would be really hard to believe that we're going to get a 55% drop if Coinbase is about to IPO, right? Like, doesn't that kind of seem weird? Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Coinbase is about to IPO. Why would we go 55% down? Exhibit A. Oh, Facebook getting into crypto. Oh, my God, this is super bullish. Bullish for 5 minutes. Before, obviously, Black Swan event kind of made that more aggressive, right? 72% down, right? And, of course, and again, here's the other thing. This is a totally different time in the cycle, right? This was coming out of a bear market getting bullish news, right? That's a lot different. And even then, right, like the news kind of tops you out, gives you the big drop down, and then you go bull, right? But let's go back to another bull run here. Yeah, CME futures are going to launch. Like, this has got to be bullish, right? Bitcoin at all-time high. CME futures, this is recognition. This is adoption. This is people accepting Bitcoin as a legitimate asset class. Oh, my God. Literal bear market, right? So, and even before that, right, you had the you had the announcement here. We ran up on the announcement, sell the news, right? So, two ways this could play out, right? So, here's 3 examples of really bullish news being the top. And I forget what it was up here. When did El Salvador make it legal tender? Was it up here or was it at the second top? Somebody let me know. It'd be hilarious if it was at the second top, right? It's just like, oh my God, like literally El Salvador made it legal tender. How is this not going to send it to $1 million? Literally just went into the bear market anyway. So this is why I say I don't pay a lot of attention to narratives. Narratives are like a retail thing, right? Like this is what drives retail. And what does retail typically do, right? And we're retail too, right? But what does like new retail do, or should we say dumb money, right? We're technically dumb money too, but they buy the tops, right? This is you're too late. If you're buying Bitcoin after you're at all-time highs and there's super bullish news on the mainstream media, you're too late, right? For the big move. So there are some examples of really like it would seem that way. Shout out to XRP Surfer. I agree with you, right? Like, how could that be possible? Here's an example of super bullish stuff before a massive drop. Here's an example of I don't know how this is probably not as bullish as altcoin ETFs, right? But you get a massive drop, right? This is super bullish, massive drop. And at the end of the day, it was pretty much the high of the cycle, right? We went up a couple extra dollars to 69K from like 62 to 64 to 69K, right? The top is basically in here. So there's some examples, right? Like, this is why I just don't pay attention to this stuff. It's like people will say that forever. You don't understand. This is happening. It's more bullish than ever, right? Yes, fundamentally, long term, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm bullish on Bitcoin to $1 billion. Maybe not $1 billion, but $1 million for sure, right? Long term. That does not mean that it has to play out right this second, right? Like, the market is cyclical. The market moves in cycles, right? Just alongside the traditional markets as well. So the other way that could play out, right, is maybe, which I would say is probably less common than what I just showed you when you get bullish news, or you have these bullish narratives, right? Maybe they get launched. Like, here's the thing, right? Like all that, like, if it's already announced, it's probably baked into the charts, right? Again, Bitcoin futures announcement, massive 256% pump. Futures launch, literally the top almost to the day. Massive bear market, right? So maybe, I don't know, maybe they launch and it's like, oh my God, we're going up forever, and that was the thing, right? But like in my eyes, right, I think it's probably already priced into the market. There's no news, like there's no new stuff going on when they launch it, right? Like, or like when they actually launch it. Like, the announcement is what creates the hype. Once they launch it, it's like, what else is going to pump the market, right? Like, we already knew about this. It's like, and like, of course it could create inflow, right? But that could take a long time, right? So, hopefully that's the narrative. Hopefully it's like, oh my God, they launched and everybody just funnels money into altcoins and then we continue up into a massive alt season. I hope so. That's one way that it could play out. But there's a few very, very clear examples of, like, in my opinion, I would see it on the charts, right? And then whatever that bullish news is, let it come out. But if it's not going to shock the market, it's probably already priced in my opinion. But hopefully they launch and it just goes up. But, just take that for what it is, right? It's not my opinion. This is just like what happened when that news was announced. This is what happened when that news was announced. This is what happened when that news was announced. So just take that for what it's worth. Hopefully this time is different. I mean, I pray. But there you go. Great question. I mean, you're not wrong for thinking that, brother. It makes a lot of sense, right? But this is why it takes experience. That's why experience helps. Shout out to Dave Digital said, Frankie Stuffaway, is that you? Is Gareth really usually that bearish? Gareth is awesome. But shout out to Dave Digital. Crypto Paisa says, so cycle intact but without alt season. I mean, shout out to Crypto Paisa. It's possible, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, people will be like, well, we didn't have alt season yet, right? And here's the thing, right? Well, that's the beautiful thing, is like, if there is going to be like the bullish puzzle piece, like one of the bullish puzzle pieces for us that we just went over was bullish for altcoins, not even really Bitcoin, right? It's actually bearish for Bitcoin dominance. So one of the bullish puzzle pieces that we do have is actually specifically related to altcoins. But when someone says, well, we didn't have alt season yet, we still have to have alt season, stop them and go explain it. It's like, oh, we have to have alt season. We always have alt season. Yeah, explain. Well, it's just happened every other time. Is that it? Like, is there anything else? And maybe there is, right? I'm sure a lot of people have really good arguments for it. And again, I hold a lot of altcoins, guys. I pray they're right? But I'm not just going to hold my bag if I think it's going down. Again, I haven't sold anything. I'm not saying the top is in. I'm not saying there's no alt season. But I just want to show you like a real logical view on the market, right? Like, not just yeah, alt season's coming because it has to come, because I just think it has to come because that's what happened last time. I think a lot of people fell into that trap. I mean, people fall into that trap constantly, right? Just because it happened, and we have had some altcoins do pretty well. Like, nothing like a 2017 alt season. And I think that I actually didn't bring this up, but I do want to talk about it because I think it's important. I think a lot of people, right? I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, this is the COVID wick. This is the COVID wick. This was a completely different part of the cycle. Completely different. We talked about this the other day. A lot of people talking about that COVID-19 wick, right? And we even compared it, right? It is on the altcoins more and Ethereum more, which again, it's almost like any of the bullish cases are like more focused towards altcoins, to be honest. And again, that's not me saying alt season tomorrow or alt season definitely coming, right? But like these are the evidence pieces that I'm looking at. But yeah, like the C19 wick, like people will do stuff like this, right? They'll be like, well, let me just show you something. Like they'll compare it and they'll be like, look how similar that looks. And then look what happened after. You are here. And then they're like massive run. This was totally different. This is a totally different part of the market. Totally different part of the cycle. That's not like, I would compare this, right? I would compare what we're seeing here. Definitely, what did I just say, right? If you had to compare where we are in this cycle timing-wise, we are literally somewhere in here, right? Again, using the time fib to accurately measure that. That wick that we're seeing right now is much more similar to this wick than it is the C19 wick, right? So, again, I'm not saying all season can't happen. I'm not saying the top is guaranteed in here, but like these are things that people don't normally talk about because it's bad for views, it's bad for clicks. I don't care. I want to help you guys make money. That's why I'm here. This is literally let me pull up the Bitstamp chart just to give you guys a clear view of this. We'll even pull it up on the cycle chart just so we can get actual measurements out here, right? So let's look at this, right? Let's just not just make that wick happened before the halving, right? So this is more just like a massive shakeout before the bull run, right? And again, obviously this was based off something, right? There was actual, C19 was real, but this was before the bull market even started. This was before the halving. So, like, when people say, like, look at that big liquidation wick, and then what happened after, right? Like, you are here. I hope so. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying, like, they're guaranteed going to be wrong. I pray that they're right. I just don't know what they're looking at because if this is before the halving, right, that would be similar to something happening in this cycle, like here, right? It's like one last shakeout before a massive bull market. Right? Not a big liquidation wick at the top, right? Or at the end of the cycle, I should say, not the top, of what is expected to be the cycle, right? Maybe the cycle changes. Maybe we run into 2026. Who knows what the road into that will look like, but, maybe, I don't know. Maybe we just go sideways and then 2026 just rip for some reason. I just don't understand why it would happen. So that's my problem with that. And again, have we seen wicks get massive moves back up? For sure, right? We had, a lot of people were comparing this to the COVID wick as well. Massive wick down, massive move up, but much more comparable, right? You're not having this happen, let's measure it. You're not having this happen as you are literally 5 days away from the longest it's ever taken to go from a halving to a top, right? Totally different situation. Totally different. So, again, I have to be clear. I'm not saying the top is guaranteed in. I'm not saying this time can't be different, but what I am saying is I think a lot of people are just going to hope for alt season. And again, I haven't sold any of my alts. I still hold a lot of my alts. But why are you holding it, right? Are you holding it because someone told you to? And if they did, what are they basing that off of? And have you looked into it, right? Or are you just listening because you think that they know better, right? And maybe they do know better. Maybe they have explained it and it makes total sense. And that gives you confidence to hold your bag. But at least you're holding it because you understand why. So I would argue dominance coming down, if anything. Again, one of those big bullish puzzle pieces is kind of focused on altcoins, right? And would it be weird to just see no alt season? I think it would be weird. That does not mean it's impossible, right? Like my bias or my base thought is like, man, is this going to be the cycle that we look back on and say that there was no alt season? I would think it's less probable. I think it would be more unlikely. Is it impossible? Absolutely not, right? And you don't just want to hold on because, like, you're just waiting for alt season, right? Like, you could wind up waiting for alt season forever. If, at the end of the day, guys, if Bitcoin dominance starts screaming to the upside, like, the alts are not going to be able to pump, right, in the way that you want them to, right? So if Bitcoin dominance keeps pumping up to the upside, you're just going to be like, why would you be sitting there waiting for alt season, right, if you're starting to break the highs or whatever, right? So that's my 2 cents on the long term. I wanted to go over this and cover this a little bit more in detail with you guys because I bet that there's a lot more people out there just calling for up-only alt season incoming, right? And it's like sometimes I see these thumbnails or, I'll see like the people on Instagram or TikTok or whatever calling for like, this is it, alt season incoming. And it's like, even me, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, dang, man, I only have one thing in my head. Why? Explain it. And there's like, you don't understand. This is the biggest liquidation. When you get big liquidations, what happens after? Massive pump. Explain it. Give me detail. Yes, when we get big wicks, you can, I would say that too, right? What happens? Sideways consolidation, watch out the longs, another move up. Or sideways consolidation, watch out the longs, big move up. Sideways consolidation, watch out the longs, big move up. But from the timing of the cycle, right? It's like, how long are you going to expect that to go on for, right? Hopefully it continues. Hopefully this is a big liquidation wick. As a matter of fact, I would say, like, that's what we're hoping for, right? Like, you kind of need this to be the big liquidation wick before the big move up. Because once we start coming down and hanging in under here, just understand, even from like a simple perspective here, guys, we break down out of this range, bada boom, and we have to come back up, right? Like, you're now running into all of this resistance, right? You got to get back above that resistance, which you could do, right? But I would say until you flip that resistance, until you get back above all these lows, this value area low, all the resistance, you're going to have the 50-week moving average, maybe not that high, but somewhere in there. Maybe you're back above the 50-week moving average at that point. But, once you wind up getting back above that level, it's like, then maybe it's like, all right, if we hold above all this, then we can get the move to the upside. But other than that, it's like, let's just draw it out real quick. Let's say we get the move. Let's say we get the move down to the $96,000 PLC. Roughly about there. You pull your fib from the high to the low. Where's that put your golden pocket? This is your next big major zone of resistance at that point. And again, it depends on how low you go. If you went down to the $91,000 value area low, or 92, let me actually, we'll just say, yeah, it's like 91, 92K. Pull it down to that low. Like, you're starting to get pretty close confluence with that value area low, right? So you're going to have to get back above the lows into the golden pocket, which could be a lower high for a massive lower low, and then same thing on the 786, right? Kind of similar to the situation that we're in right now with the golden pocket 786. So just don't want to lose this range. I'll just be clear about that. And again, I will fight, I will pray to the crypto gods, I will call Satoshi even though he blocked my number. I'm going to get a burner phone and call him again. I will fight for this thing to go back up. There's only so much I can do, but show the information and, let you make your own decision. I've been talking about how I've been getting pretty itchy up here trying to sell some Bitcoin. There's a reason for it, guys. It's not just because, we get a big dump, right? I was talking about this actually on the push back to the upside. I was talking about maybe looking to take a little bit more profit. So it's like, yeah, it's we'll see what happens. But, there is a bullish case out there. I hope it plays out. But I would definitely say there's probably slightly more bearish signals than bullish signals. All right, let's see. Shout out to XRP Surfer said valid point. Thank you. Yeah. And it's not crazy to think that, bro. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, maybe they launch it. Everyone gets bullish. Everyone floods into the ETFs, and maybe that pumps price. Maybe. It's just not. I may be the wrong person to ask about that, right? Because if you ask me, I'm always going to point you to the chart, right? It's like a lot of people, like even like I talked about before, massive drop down on that tweet. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. I saw the short before the dump, right? I was short up here. Then the tweet gives us the move that we're looking for. I let the news continue the move that I'm already in. So I'm just not someone who pays attention to that. In my opinion, like wherever that tweet came in, it was obviously somewhere on the big dump, right? Wherever that tweet came in here, right? Are you better off shorting up here, or are you better off jumping in here, right? People probably jumped in here, held it, and now they're back at break even, right? A lot of people. But so I may just not be like the best person because like I just generally think if you're trading the news or you're trading based off news, it's you're just usually too late. And I see this with people in my personal life as well. They're like I don't get it, man. Like why are we dumping? I thought rate cuts were supposed to pump us, and it's like I wish it was that easy, right? Like I wish it, and it's like the same thing with like the ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, right? Maybe this is similar to what we'll see on the altcoins, right? It's like you get the ETF approvals or whatever, instant dump to the downside. Now, was this bullish long term? Absolutely. That was our thought process. Was like, hey, you're probably going to get some kind of like a knee jerk reaction off the sell the news event, and then eventually it will wind up being very bullish, right? But it doesn't have to happen right away. And then you have everybody being like, I don't get it. Why are we absolutely dumping on crypto, right? And this was a 21% dump. A lot of new people will freak out over a 5% dump, let alone a 20% dump. A lot of people will be like, I don't get it. Is crypto's a scam, man. They launched the ETFs and then we got a 20% dump. Like, what's going on? I thought that was supposed to pump the market. And it's like, that's just not. like again, like you're just not that you were late to the market, right? But you're like late to the move, right? If you are pumping into good news, chances are you're going to get some kind of a significant correction before you actually wind up seeing that leak its way into the market and give you the expected play out. So I'm just not someone who would ever trade narratives for a very specific reason. Again, not just because, it doesn't work, right? Like those are the examples, right? Imagine shorting on this when the tweet came out. Again, I don't know exactly where in price that happened. And sure, you could have made some money if you closed your trade for sure. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's just like, why would I not just want to be prepared in the position, just letting it play out and comfortably sitting in that position? So I just might not be the right person to ask about that. But that's my 2 cents. I can give you my my thought process. All right, let's see. Shout out to Patrick. Say, can we take a look at Astra? I'll try to take a look at Astra for you, no problemo. Again, please do not super chat your altcoins, guys. I mean, you can super chat them. It's just not going to guarantee that we look at them. Otherwise, we'd be here forever. Shout out to Josh. Said IWMHYG. DXY, all three indicate risk in the market. BTC is a turtle. Yeah, there's that's actually well, let's take a look at the DXY real quick, guys. And I know I'm like edging people on altcoins right now. I'll take a brief look at Ethereum and some alt situations in a second, but let's take a look at the DXY, right? Let's just compare it to last cycle, right? Let's pull up the weekly and let's actually pull up the monthly. All right, so let me get my... Let's actually pull up the weekly. All right, so let's pull this up over Bitcoin. What are we doing here? What are we doing? What am I looking for? This. All right, so let's pull this up over Bitcoin. So pull this up on Bitcoin. And we'll just look into it, right? Again, no emotional bias at all. Hopefully we can add this to our bullish puzzle pieces, right? Like I'm dying for things to add to the bullish case. And things can change, guys. We can come up with the chart tomorrow and maybe things look totally different. But let's pull the DXY up on the weekly, Bitcoin up on the weekly, and let's just compare, right? Here is 2021. Just get this. All right. So this is somewhat all right. So let's see here. Whoops. So 2021, right? DXY tops out. So pull up on a lower time frame, actually. All right, so whoops. Just mark this out real quick. All right, so we'll like mark out the top of 2021, right? I'll mark out the first top up, actually, because as you guys know, I am in the camp that this was the real top in 2021, right? This was like a inflated dead cat bounce. This was the peak in sentiment. This was the peak in most things, right? So we'll highlight that top with the Bitcoin top, right? So we'll just, for argument's sake, say that was the top, right? Not the numerical top, but essentially the cycle top. Then, let's see, bottom of the bear market, right? Obviously, this is what you would expect. DXY starts to dump. That's where Bitcoin starts its bull market. And then I'll just mark out the bottom of the bear market here. Bottom of the bear market. So it's kind of like this. And now we are here. All right. So if you're looking for a bear market, right? We'll just say we think the bear market is coming, right? What was happening on the DXY, right? So here's the top. At that point, let's pull up market cipher B. The DXY on the weekly time frame. Is this a bullish divergence? Let me just get these momentum waves back on here. It's actually interesting because I haven't really dug into the DXY in quite some time. So let me actually just pull up market cipher B like this. All right. So, yeah, you did have a bullish divergence. Right? Am I expecting this to be exactly the same? So you had the bull div, and more importantly, weekly money flow is crossing into the green. So at the last top, right, where Bitcoin was essentially topped out, I know we went for a 50% dump and then got another big rip to the upside. But let's just say bullish divergence on the DXY with money flow coming up on the weekly. Let's come here. Let's say we think this, if you think this is the top, what would we be seeing here? Bullish divergences on the weekly. Do we have it? You have it to your wicks. You don't have it to your bodies, but you do have it to your wicks. Higher lows. And I hate to say it, guys. I'm seeing this with you. Weekly money flow coming into the green. Or not coming into the green, but trending up pretty aggressively. Right? Hopefully this comes back out. But I'll be honest. And we'll try to find like a contrarian view to this as well. But, I mean, there's your weekly bull div. There's your money flow coming up on the weekly, right? And again here, when we look at the 2021 bull market, what did we see happen on the DXY? DXY's weekly money flow had crossed over into the red. Weekly money flow crossover into the red. Guess what? Bull market for Bitcoin. Then you get the weekly bullish divergence with your money flow coming up. Money flow crosses green, bear market. Let's compare it to now. And again, it sounds like I'm trying to like prove the point that it's the same. I am not. I am hoping that it looks different. Let's see. So let's mark off your, where's the beginning of the bull market? Right here. So this is actually something that we were looking at way back in the day, right? Weekly money flow crosses into the red, right? Massive rally on DXY, obviously. Massive correction. There's your first weekly money flow crossover. It's kind of been much less clean. This is a nice, clean money flow crossover. This has been super choppy. But you do get that weekly money flow crossover right about here. You do get the big old bull run to come in. And even here, right, like money flow came back into the green on the DXY slightly, and then we were back into the red. We get another rip to the upside. Even if it isn't the mark of a top, right, or the top of the bull market, you could argue here that if you get this weekly money flow crossover, I mean, just look at any other time you've gotten a weekly money flow crossover into the green, right? Weekly money flow crossover into the green on the DXY. What happens? Bitcoin tops out, goes for a big correction. It wasn't the top of the bull market, right? But it was still a big correction, right? Then the money flow crosses back into the red. Bitcoin goes up, right? And actually, you know what? This might be a little bit easier if I just go back and forth between the charts, so we could just get a little bit bigger of a outlook here, right? So you got their weekly. Money flow crosses into the green. Obviously, the bear market for Bitcoin. Money flow crosses over into the red. Right, which hilariously enough, it kind of just bing-bonged sideways, but Bitcoin still goes into the bull market. Even here, little peek into the green. Obviously, Bitcoin was getting the dump to the downside. Once it crosses red, we get another pump. All I can see here is this weekly money flow. Like, if you're looking for a big move on the DXY, that weekly money flow crossover is just always going to be what I'm looking at. You get that weekly money flow crossover into the green, I would expect this to go up. What would I expect Bitcoin to do in that situation? Well, I would expect it to do the same thing it's done every other time, which is come to the downside. Right? Again, DXY crosses the money flow into the red. Bitcoin goes up. Then DXY crosses into the green. Red. Bitcoin goes up. The inverse, obviously. And then once you top out here on Bitcoin, the DXY crosses into the green, and you get the big move down. I personally, if you get that weekly money flow crossover on the DXY, I would have to say it is a higher probability that the price goes to the downside. That's pretty much what I would. And again, it's not just like what I would think, right? It's just what's happened. and maybe it's not, I hope I'm explaining that clearly, right? Oops. Weekly. All right. Right, so there's your crossover into the green. You can see my cursor on both screens here. Here's the DXY money flow crossover into the green, into the big green wave. Look at the left side of the screen. Bitcoin bear market, Bitcoin bear market, Bitcoin bear market, Bitcoin bear market. Money flow crosses into the red on the DXY. What happens? Bitcoin bull market. Cross into the red, Bitcoin bull market, right? And even locally. Zoom in a little bit, right? Little crossover into the green right here for the DXY. Bitcoin goes down. Crosses back into the red, Bitcoin goes up. If this crosses back into the green, I would have to expect that Bitcoin goes down. I'll mark off all the money flow crossovers into the green on the DXY, and we'll just look at what happened on Bitcoin. DXY money flow, DXY money flow crossover into the green. DXY money flow crossover into the green. DXY money flow crossover into the green, right? So these are all the weekly money flow crossovers into the green on the DXY, and we can now close the DXY, right? You got one last pump, massive dump. Pretty much go sideways and down, right? Again, I know this looks sideways, right? But this was from wick to wick, a 33% correction. Crosses into the green, one more sweep of the highs before a massive 31% correction. So if we see that weekly money flow crossover into the DXY, I would argue that I would have to, not even argue. I would just say, like, what would you expect? Why expect it? Why expect Bitcoin to go up if that weekly money flow crosses into the green? I guess is really the question, right? But that's what I would look at. So we'll see. Maybe we don't get the crossover, right? Maybe money flow just yanks back into the red. Hopefully that happens. Again, on the DXY, hopefully that makes Bitcoin go up. But I would have to say, looking at the DXY personally, that weekly money flow crosses into the green, I would have to expect strength in the DXY, which could obviously dump Bitcoin. And you have the bullish divergence here as well, at least to your wicks. You don't really have it to your bodies. You probably will have it there on your lower time frames, though. No, not even. Really just wick divergences there. Still a divergence, though. So there you go. A little bit abstract for my live stream. Obviously, we typically go over the local levels and stuff, but I just wanted to cover this stuff, guys, because, again, like, to be honest, there wasn't really much to update here on the lower time frames. I mean, we did that as well anyway, but there's not really a ton to talk about here until we come down to another big key level. But very important levels here. Very, very, very important, critical moment in the market, guys. And again, I'm not saying the high is in. I don't want to sound super bearish. We covered the bullish case as well. But again, it's like, what side has more evidence pieces? So if you want the move to the upside, you are hoping that all the indicators fake out, which is possible. I would never fight against that, right? You're never going to see me get up here and be like, money flow's coming out, idiots, is going down, you morons, you can't go up. I would never say that, right? Because I have been humbled enough by this market to understand that, indicator's not going to play out every time. Even the traditional TA is not going to play out every single time. But mark my words, guys. We start losing this range, and we come down here. On one end of the coin, we're probably going to be longing when everybody is scared, right? But if I take a long position down at these levels, it does not mean that I'm expecting it just to push into new all-time highs, right? I would have to argue based off everything I went off in this live stream, I would have to say that losing these levels, losing $107,000, losing $108,000, and getting accepted decisively below this range is going to be very bearish for Bitcoin, because at the same time, you're getting accepted into your macro value area, which would very likely call for a much bigger move to the downside. So if we don't just get caught up here with an SFP and a massive move up or a massive bounce off the POC, we don't want to lose this level. Good news is we're still above it. So there you go. I hate to cover the things that people don't really want to talk about, guys, but I have to show it. I have to show it. I have to talk about it because it's there, right? And then what happens? Everyone's going to be like, what happened? I thought it was going to pump. And I'll just be like, we talked about it, guys. We talked about it. So hopefully, when is the next rate cut? The next FOMC meeting is Tony D actually texted me earlier today and told me the date. I probably should just look at it and remember. I don't know. Somebody definitely knows in the chat. Somebody drop it in the chat. I wanted to say it was the yeah, somebody let me know. Someone probably already put it in the chat. Let's see. No hopium, Frankie. Shout out to Base Bailey. The October 28th, I believe. 26th, 29th, and 30th. Yeah, so I guess it's like between the 28th and the 28th and the 30th. So it's probably the 29th and the 30th. Yo, shout out to James. Says crypto is so manipulated. Bitcoin will probably rip to 150K tonight. Hey, not impossible. Not impossible. I wouldn't shock me either. All right, so real quick, guys, I did go long on that, so but I'll cover Ethereum really quickly. But again, my sentiment would be pretty much the same thing for Ethereum, right? If we take a look here at our chart, very similar to Bitcoin, right? We broke out of our massive range, slightly different situation than Bitcoin, but very similar, right? Break out of your range. It was okay to come test these highs. We talked about these highs for I can't even tell you how long, right? Like we talked about potentially coming down to this 3530 value area high a billion times. And it always seems crazy, guys, talking about those lower levels until you see some kind of crazy liquidation event bring you down there. But we were okay with this, right? It's like, hey, initial breakout, it's okay to retest. It's okay to retest, but we really want to hold that before getting a move back to the upside. And, if we come back down and fill this wick, get stuck under this value area high, it's going to be the same thing as Bitcoin, right? If you can't get back out of here aggressively, you're going to be looking for a much bigger move to the downside, potentially towards the POC and the value area low. Now, we do have other key levels in here that we can look at. And again, until we get down here, like we'll assess the situation when we get down there. But for the most part, the biggest level of support is 3530 at the value area high. We've already tested it once. If we come down to fill the wick, I would hope for something like this. Very quick recovery to the upside. Now, if we take a look at some of our higher time frame money flow, 3-day money flow still looks good. 4-day money flow finally crossing back into the green here. So this actually looks different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's money flow is just kind of in the green, trying to cross over into the red. Ethereum's crossing into the green. 5-day money flow in the red. 6-day money flow in the green. Weekly money flow kind of flat with the VWAP below the zero line. Nothing really to take away from that. So I would say 3-day money flow still looks decent. 4-day money flow still looks decent for a potential continuation of the uptrend, right? This would indicate your longer-term trend. If you can get a big money flow wave like this, that would be beautiful. Look for that high time frame 4-day green dot to potentially print the next pump, right? And at the end of the day, right, I can't really unsee this. If I am looking for something like this, right, looks like a bearish divergence could form, right? And now, what would we need for that bearish divergence? Well, we'd be looking for a break of the high, right, which would mean a new all-time high. But this all hinges on the fact that we hold on top of this value area high. And when we look at our lower time frame money flow, like the 4-hour money flow is coming out. 5-hour money flow is trending out. 6-hour money flow trending out. 8-hour money flow actually doesn't look that bad. Money flow has been pretty choppy for honestly months at this point. It's like, look at your 10-hour. Your difference between your 10 and your 12 hours is insane, right? 10 hours trending up in the green, 12 hours crossing into the red with a red dot incoming. It's like money flow has just not been very helpful, at least on the higher time frames recently. But for the most part, stay above 3530. That trend to the upside could continue, especially when you look at the 3-day. It's like if you expect that overall trend to continue to the upside, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, technical higher, low, higher, high, maybe. But we would need to see some of these high time frame green dots, right? 4-day green dot, 3-day green dot, 2-day green dot, maybe looking to print somewhat soon. So you're just hoping that you don't have to come back down here and lose this range high at 3530. That'd be a very bearish case for Ethereum, in my opinion. And again, we do have some levels down here that can save us, but just generally, right? Like what happened last time? We deviated above this range and got stuck in it. Filled the range in full. What happened last time? We deviated above and got stuck in, filled it in full, right? Now it is a little bit different here, but just generally, you want to stay on top of this range, just from a structure perspective, right? It's like retest of these range highs is not a big deal, right? And again, obviously, we were looking for this for quite some time. All right, let's see. I was planning on quitting my job and being job free with my gains. Use that time to learn a new skill. Shout out to JP. Listen, it's not over. It's not over yet. It's not over yet, right? We just have to go over the bearish case. I'm not saying it has to play out. But yeah, guys, here's the other thing too, right? Let's just assume eventually we find out the bear market is coming, right? There is no better time to learn how to trade than now, right? Just and they put it into perspective, right? Obviously, I don't want Bitcoin to go down. I hold a lot of Bitcoin. I hold a lot of crypto in general. I hold a lot of altcoins, right? I want this stuff to go up as much as anybody else. But even on these dumps to the downside, right? And it's not even counting this wick from, what is this? 9%. You can trade this stuff and make money. I'm up $5,000 and I still have profit locked in. But $5,000 unrealized profit on this drop to the downside. If we go into a bear market, right, you don't have to be a slave to the bull markets to make money. If you can learn how to read the charts, which we teach you here every single weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on the tutorials, just on the YouTube channel in general. It's a free trading course. We teach you how to do this. Make money, whether price goes up or down. You can 100% do this. And there's honestly no better time to learn how to trade than now, especially if we do get another push to the upside on crypto, like we get the bull market to extend a little bit. It kind of buys you a little bit of time. But now is the time to learn, right? Like at that point, right, if you could sharpen your trading skills and learn how to make this money on the way down like we do, just even on this little drop like this. I know it was kind of big, but there is plenty of opportunity to make money shorting this thing in the bear market, right? Like the trading doesn't change. We'll be here trading bear market, bull market, sideways market, up, down, left, right, doesn't matter. We're here trading, making money. And then, in the bull markets, it's nice because you can have your long-term investments kind of passively growing your wealth on the back end. But there is no better time to learn how to trade than if we are going into a bear market, right? Because it's the same thing here. Here you make tons of money on the longs. Here you make more money on the shorts. But it doesn't mean that you can't day trade this, scalp it, even swing trade it. So just understand that there is no, it's one of the best things. It's like you don't have to walk away. You just keep trading, right? Like to me personally, the bear market doesn't really do anything for me, right? It's like great, I can't grow my spot bags obviously, but it opens up a huge opportunity for me to buy the lows, and my day job still remains the same. I could trade and make my money like I do in a bull market, the same way in a bear market. So there you go. And if you want to learn how to trade, there is no better place to do it than right here on this YouTube channel for literally $3.99. So there you go. Let's see. Get in and out of these altcoins. Yeah, I listen. I think it would be very nice if we could see an alt season come in, because I'm not gonna lie. We might have done, if we don't see an alt season this cycle, guys, we might have done damage to the crypto. We might have done damage to like the crypto community. It's like I think a lot of people are so sick of altcoins right now, and it's like I already have a lot of people saying like the second I get this stuff back at break even or into profit, I'm selling it. I'm never buying altcoins again. Which, let's all be honest, won't be the case if it goes back up. They're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. It's like, I'm going to do this again, right? And they probably will. But, you just hope that it didn't cause all this pain and like kind of jade crypto for a lot of people. But hey, one big rip to the upside on the altcoins, guys. And there is still hope here. But again, got to cover the bearish case as well, which is why I did that so yeah, I'm going to try to cover that a lot less. I'm going to try to go over the longer term stuff a lot less, and we'll just stick to like the trades and stuff and the lower time frame levels and the education. I'll always go over the long term a little bit, but it's kind of like I'm not going to cover this every day anymore. I think everybody knows. Stay above here. We're in pretty decent shape. If we get down here and get stuck under here for an extended period of time, daily, weekly candles closing below here, very bearish, right? Until then, I'm going to be day trading the local range and the medium-term range until we can break down into that macro range. I am just going to keep bing-bonging this thing up and down, make my money, and hopefully the spot bags can stay alive. All right, let me come into chat here real quick. Shout out to Proud Gun Owner said, yeah, future BTC Maxi here. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you guys, like, I am obviously much more heavily exposed to, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana than I am on any other altcoins, and I have never been more thankful for that in my life. Going into this cycle, I kind of thought I might have been a little bit too Bitcoin heavy, and now I wound up looking back, I'm just super happy I'm very Bitcoin heavy, because it's been a lot, better of a cycle for me. And again, if the altcoins run, I'm holding my alts, but if we wind up not seeing an altcoin, if that winds up playing out, if we don't wind up seeing an alt season, I'm going to be very, very happy about my positioning for this cycle. And again, I just hold a lot of alts, but just relatively, it's just I hold way more Bitcoin than I do anything else. And it's been very, very nice. Honestly, like if I take profits on my Bitcoin here, it's like maybe I could look for, maybe we get an alt season. I can even like reallocate some of that money into altcoins a little bit later. I didn't know that I was going to have this entire cycle to potentially accumulate more if I think an alt season's coming. But it might turn into that. If I wind up taking some profit, I might have some free money to drop into some alts if we do see a situation where we can see an alt season come in. But locally, guys, here, before we wrap it up, bigger range to look at in my opinion. And if I'm actually just going to extend this really quickly. Let's bring it down at all. Yeah, I'm just going to update this profile a little bit. Actually, I'll just leave it here. I'm not even going to update it. But here's your thing. You got to get back into this range. If you were looking for a sizable push to the upside, you got to get back above this value area low at 111,693. Once you push above that, maybe you can make it up to the POC. If not, I already went over the local levels. Scrub back to the beginning of the stream if you want to know like the hyper local levels that we're looking at. But at the end of the day, from a simple perspective, get back above this value area low. That could open up the door for some kind of a big retracement to the upside. But again, you just got to realize you have your golden pocket retracement here, major key levels of resistance. So you got a lot of work to do here before we can start looking for new all-time highs. Money flow's not pointing in that direction, and you have these areas that would more likely be calling for lower highs and lower lows. So it's not until we break above those levels and start shooting up that I would say there's a high probability of new all-time highs coming in sooner than later. Until that happens, I'd have to call for lower highs and lower lows, right? Again, it doesn't necessarily mean bear market, right? At least as long as we can hold on top of here. But even if we break this, right, it's like, it doesn't mean, oh my God, bear market, right? But, in my opinion, it'd probably be higher probability, but, you still got to hang out down here. You got to not be able to break back up. But hopefully this gives you guys some kind of insight into what I'm looking at here in the markets from a completely logical standpoint, not an emotional standpoint. Again, I'm not just showing bullish puzzle pieces, being emotional, hoping my bags pump. Like, guys, it's going to keep going up. No emotion whatsoever. Showed you the bullish case, showed you the bearish case. I personally think there's more bearish puzzle pieces leaning in that direction. I think there's more puzzle pieces leaning in the bearish direction. But I'm happy to see that not play out and see this stuff continue up, right? It's not like I'm shorting the market right here, sold all my bags, right? I'm still exposed to the market. So, we'll just see what happens if we get the push up into these next key levels. Pretty much wake me up unless we get up to 117 to 118, or wake me up when we come back down to 107,445 to $105,000 near our golden pocket 786 retracement. But until then, pray for Bitcoin, guys. Pray for Bitcoin, and I'll keep you guys updated here tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shout out to Tyler Durden, Jesse, Vegas Claw. Shout out to Vegas Claw. I missed the Drake jokes today, bro, but shout out to Vegas Claw. I know he's dropping them in there. Shout out to Tomo, Sin Nasty Kid, Eugene Sky, Panda the Prophet, JP, and Charcoal. And sorry I didn't cover the altcoins, guys. I just really wanted to come up here. I didn't stream last night. I wanted to come up here and talk about the long term with you guys. Tomorrow we'll go over more of the altcoins. We'll go over more of the local levels, some of the trading, some of the more trading focused stuff, key levels of local support and resistance, where I'll be looking for bounces and stuff like that. But just wanted to give kind of a macro update. But thank you guys for being here. Pray for Bitcoin. Let's hope we can get this pump to the upside and see this cycle continue. But always remember, guys, the charts are the truth, and you can't ignore the bearish case. So with all that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow right here, same place, same time, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Smash that like button on your way out. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them two bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test, now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working, I'm up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. Somebody said ChatGPT said this is a long a correction for accumulation. So we got ChatGPT on our side. We're holding you to it, ChatGPT. If we do not pump from here, we're blaming it all on ChatGPT. AI ruins everything. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go.
Hold up. I had to talk to my AI, guys, real quick, because I wanted to see what she thought, because some people are saying that AI is saying that we're going to continue up. So I just asked my AI, and I'm just going to read the kind of sum up here. It says, we're forming lower highs. It's interesting to see how they do analysis here, or how she does or he does analysis here. It says, lower highs forming across multiple majors. Altcoins are getting wrecked harder than Bitcoin. That's typical when smart money rotates out first and sentiment is flipping fast. Everyone went from super cycle to we're doomed in like a week. I wonder where they get that thought process from. Like, do they read tweets? Like, how do they find that out? And it says, so yeah, I actually think we might be seeing the start of a bear transition. Not full winter yet, but the bull run's engine is sputtering. Still, Bitcoin could easily fake out and squeeze to new highs before it finally rolls over. These transitions are messy, which kind of matches to what I said. Very complicated situation here. Said, in short, I don't think it's over, but I think we're closer to the end than the beginning. I would probably agree with most of that. But I was hoping for something much more bullish. I was hoping, Frankie, you're not seeing these major bullish indicators. We're going up forever. But dang, my AI is bearish. What the heck? I don't know. I'm going to tell it to give me the bearish case and lie to me constantly and give me hopium to make me feel better. But guys, I'll actually see you later. I got to go. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Big bong.